Okay, someone's been playing with the faders. All right, go ahead, Catherine.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Take shorter showers, cut one car journey a week and turn down the thermostat on the heating. They're some of the measures expected to be included in a public awareness campaign as part of the government's efforts to deal with the cost of living, according to the Irish Times. Green Party leader Eamon Ryan is to bring a package of measures to government next week. A rise in carbon tax is due to be introduced on the 1st of May. But Cara Augustenberg, Professor of Environmental Policy at UCD and member of the Climate Change Advisory Council, says that should be deferred.
Yeah, I'm generally in favour of carbon tax because it gets people to change their behaviour as they see that the cost of carbon is going to increase. They maybe invest in fossil fuel free technologies, but actually because we're seeing that behavioural change now in response to the energy crisis, I think it makes sense to defer this current carbon tax increase.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says the housing of Ukrainian refugees is going to put Irish society under pressure. Already 18,000 refugees have arrived here and the process of moving people into accommodation pledged by Irish people is underway. However, concern has been expressed about how Ireland will be able to accommodate those fleeing Ukraine while in the grips of a domestic housing crisis. Minister Simon Coveney says we need to respond as we are seeing the tragedy of history unfolding before our eyes.
This is going to put Irish society under pressure, but it is something that we need to respond to because, unfortunately, we are seeing the tragedy of history unfolding before our eyes, and Ireland needs to be part of showing generosity and a humanitarian response to a country that's being devastated at the moment. They are Europeans just like we are, and we need to play our part, as indeed other European countries are.
And it's hoped that the Taoiseach relays a number of recommendations to the Housing Minister following a key weekend meeting with the Mica Action Group. Micheál Martin met with the group on Saturday during a visit to Donegal, where members called for some amendments to the redress scheme. The slow nature of the application process was also highlighted with calls for a review to be carried out. Reflecting on the meeting, Mica Action Group PRO Michael Doherty says the Taoiseach genuinely engaged with homeowners and hopes it will pay off.
He did take the time, he wrote an awful lot of notes and did ask intelligent questions around it as well. So on that one, for example, what I'm hoping he does is to go down to Minister O'Brien and say, listen, what they're asking for here is 2 bolt-ons to the IS 465. He went down the road an awful lot more educated than what he was beforehand. I think that really stood to us, and he did genuinely engage with us here. It wasn't just an exercise. Hopefully it pays off, and he has agreed to meet us again.
Weather now, a dull and breezy day with outbreaks of rain and drizzle and highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees. We're back with more at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Easter mega deals now on at Curry's. Get free delivery and save €150 on the Samsung American-style fridge freezer, now $1,339. And get the HP laptop with full HD screen, now $399. Save €80. We won't be beaten on price, so get in-store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 4th of April 2022. How are you? I hope you are well. And stick around, we have a busy show for you. Lots coming up on the programme this morning, right across the spectrum of topics. There's information, there's news, there's features. Get involved with the conversation yourselves, of course. What happened over the weekend? What do you want to highlight? Good or bad, by the way? It's positive stuff, more than welcome to. How do you do so? 08660 25,000. And there was a great sense of positivity spurred on by Charlie Bird, a great sense of community. And that was the walks and climbs that took place not only across Donegal, but right across the country. It was an amazing coming together of people. I know some of the ones that we featured as well, and not because of it, but we kept an eye on, had great turnouts. Errigal was a huge turnout as well, people travelling to see that, but it was about people coming together, and amazing scenes too from down the country as Charlie Bird reached the top of his climb. That was emotional. It was emotional, and that's what it was. It was a mixture of emotions, wasn't it? Because a lot of this has come from a place of grief, with people losing their lives or people's lives being cut short. But then we had people coming together and raising so much money. It really was amazing. And that's the front of the Donegal News this morning. Thousands of people across Donegal pulled on their hiking boots on Saturday in solidarity with Charlie Bird. The veteran RTE broadcaster created his Climb with Charlie fundraiser last year after being diagnosed with motor neuron disease. He vowed to scale Croagh Patrick while encouraging people worldwide to do the hikes of their own. Donegal rose to the challenge when walkers across the county looked to their local peaks for a bird's eye view. Elsewhere in the front of the Donegal News too, that evening, Noel Cunningham, a hotelier, television personality and author, will go down, and he's going down in Donegal Association of Dublin history as being the longest holder of the Donegal Person of the Year title. 12 years now. Well, it's not really 12, I'm only joking. The 69-year-old was named Donegal Person of the Year for 2019 at the beginning of 2020, but because of COVID restrictions, his celebration event was postponed twice. The event, though, was worth waiting for and was even in bigger demand, with a sellout function of over 400 guests in the Bonington Hotel in Dublin on Saturday night. We were lucky enough to go. Highland Radio, one of the night's sponsors as well, and it was wonderful. It was a lovely thing to be a part of. It was lovely to meet lots and lots of people who listened to Highland Radio as well. It's always good when you can do that, because we weren't able to do it for so long. Met some really good people, some great characters. And it was great to see the likes of the Blue Stack Foundation, close to Noel's heart, and Wendy from the Blue Stacks Foundation was at the event and spoke amazingly, as well as did lots of people. And Daniel O'Donnell also managed to make his way from his climb to take part in that event. But it was a nice celebration and great to be a part of, and fair play to Noel. We might try and catch up with him a little later on in the programme to see how he's feeling today. The Derry News this morning, gas supplier Firmus Energy has been accused of bleeding the people of Derry dry. The claim by Sinead Quinn from Derry Against Fuel Poverty came ahead of the campaign group's latest protest rally held in Waterloo Place in the city centre on Saturday afternoon last. The latest price increase of 16.31% will see Firmus customers pay an additional £3.86 per week for their gas. On to the nationals now in the Irish Times. Do you remember we mentioned a month or so ago that we would start seeing campaigns to turn your heating down, that would form part of the government's response to the rising cost of fuels? Well, that's how things are playing out as predicted. People will be encouraged to take shorter showers and cut one car journey a week to bring down their energy costs, on the plan being formulated for publication later this month. As part of it as well, you're being asked to turn your heating dial down. Green Party leader Eamon Ryan said yesterday he would bring a package of measures to government next week to help with the cost of living. Well, I hope there's more in the package of measures than asking us to use less fuel, because we're already being forced to do so. We're already making choices about car journeys, aren't we? I'm not sure if people are considering taking shorter showers as much at this time, but certainly people are looking at their heat settings and how often they're using the cars. But anyway, sources indicate this would include a public awareness campaign advising steps such as cutting at one car journey a week in favour of walking or taking public transport, taking shorter showers, not filling a kettle to the top if not needed, and turning down the thermostat by a degree. That's the response. Well, part of it, actually, to be fair. The Irish Daily Mail this morning: families can expect to be at least €3,000 worse off this year thanks to a raft of price increases which keep coming and show no sign of abating. Electric Ireland, which supplies half the domestic electricity market, recently announced further increases amounting to another €520 a year for a dual bill. SSE announced price rises of 24% in electricity and 32% in gas just days ago. And there's something, a small element of it that I don't fully understand, because last month, say for 2 weeks, it was very windy, and 80 odd % of the power that we use here in Ireland came from renewable sources. There is a website that you can follow. Now, obviously, during the good weather, that dropped down significantly to about 20%. But if you average it out, I don't know what the average is, but somewhere between 20 and 80, maybe about 50% of our power comes from renewable energy, wind power and the likes. And I just don't... Is that factored in when the electricity companies lob on 25% to the cost of providing us with fuel? I might be barking up the wrong tree, but if so much of our power, at least at times, is generated by wind, surely we should be slightly better insulated, or maybe we are, from rising fuel costs as it relates to the production of energy. Anyway, anyone out there with an insight can educate me on that one. The Irish Independent, like all papers today, reports on awful pictures and videos coming out of cities around Kiev. I'll read the story here. Western allies vowed not to rest until Vladimir Putin is held accountable for war crimes yesterday after the discovery of hundreds of dead civilians on the outskirts of Kiev. Mass graves with limbs and heads sticking out of the ground were uncovered after Russian soldiers withdrew from Irpin and Bucha, 2 suburbs northwest of the capital. Graphic images of the dead left on street corners or front gardens emerged yesterday, shocking the international community into new calls for those behind the atrocities to face justice. On to opinion polls. The Sun carries the story that Sinn Féin remains the most popular party in the country, with a third of the public backing them, according to a new opinion poll. The latest figures show Sinn Féin commands the support of 33% of voters, up 2 points on its position from a month ago. Mary Lou McDonald's party now holds a considerable double-digit lead over their nearest rivals, as Fine Gael received a 22% backing, up 1 point on March's figure. They might not be too upset about that, to be honest with you. Support for Fianna Fáil dropped to 18%, down 2 points on their previous figure, while the Green Party has fallen by a point to 3%, according to the Sunday Independent Ireland Thinks poll. The Green Party support is in and around the margin of error, isn't it? So it could be 6, it could be 0. But Sinn Féin at 33%, Fine Gael 22%, Fianna Fáil 18%. Okay, we talk about expenditure and what our money is being spent on. What do you think about this in the Irish Daily Mirror? Because almost €320,000 was spent on providing Irish lags, or prisoners, with TV sets and access to multi-channel services, including Sky Sports and Netflix last year. A total of 1,493 TVs was supplied to the state's prisons in 2021, with each set costing €130, which is pretty cheap for a TV set. I don't know what kind of TVs they are supplying, but I don't know why they're supplying so many. Do you get, if you're locked up, do you get your own new TV every time? Well, according to information released under the Freedom of Information Act, a total of 244,000, nearly 245,000, was spent last year on TVs alone, including the supply of sets for other prison areas such as recreational and communal spaces and visiting rooms, which maybe is fair. I didn't realise that every cell had their own TV and own TV packages. Multi-channel services, including the provision of Netflix in all prisons, cost €74,230. €74,000. That's an awful lot of money, isn't it, for Netflix and Sky Sports subscriptions for prisoners? That's a lot. No account sharing going on in the prison service, it seems. And very finally in sport, on the back of the Star, David Clifford showed his class on and off the pitch at Croke Park yesterday as he kicked Kerry to the league title with a stunning 1-6 haul in the emphatic 15 points win over Mayo. And Mayo were really taught a lesson yesterday. It was the first senior national title of Clifford's Kerry career, and afterwards in his victory speech, the team skipper paid tribute to Red Oak Murphy, the rising Sligo star, who very tragically passed away over the weekend. Out on the field, Clifford shot 1-5 from play in a stellar performance as Kerry claimed a record 23rd league title on a scoreline of 319 to 0-13. 13 points. We'll see. Later on, we'll be chatting to Brendan Devaney, I'm sure, to see what he makes of all that weekend GE action. Right, 07491 25,000. Caroline, as always, taking your calls this morning.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Clear Mobile has 99% 4G population coverage. So where are people going?
Out west with 4 bars and all. Dublin, outside of Dublin.
Longford, Waterford, all the Fords.
There you go. This April, choose great coverage with unlimited calls, texts and data from $12.99 a month. Clearmobile.ie. You clear? They are. 30-day contract. Activation fee and fair usage applies. Max data speed 5 megabits per second. $12.99 subject to eligibility. Ends 30th of April 2022. See clearmobile.ie for terms.
Most people say that Donegal is the coolest place on the planet. But up here we know that sometimes it can be the coldest. Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet is the one-stop shop for all your heating needs. We have a huge range of multi-fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, spare parts for all major stove and range brands, plumbing and bathroom ware, all at exceptional prices. So visit our showrooms where our friendly and experienced team will be ready to help you. Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet and the Stovestore.ie, where you can always do a good deal better.
Since she got her free hearing aids with her PRSI at Specsavers, Roisin is a changed woman. Music has never sounded better, and that makes her dance. And dance. And dance. Her singing, though, well...
Free hearing aids with PRSI at Specsavers. Music to your ears. Find out more online. Terms and conditions apply.
It's about gossiping and your neighbours and what you do be up to.
It's time to laugh, it's time to sing, it's time to dance, it's time to have the crack.
Don't miss Nomad and Living Dread Theatre Company's hilarious production of Tarry Flynn, directed by Eire Monaghan. Coming to On Green On Theatre Wednesday the 6th and Thursday the 7th of April. Book your tickets now at ongreenon.com.
All right, we welcome onto the programme now Independent Donegal County Councillor, Councillor Micheál Colm McConalogue. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, there was another fire at a thatched cottage, in fact, in the county at the weekend at Mullaghduff. Fire service praised for their quick response in mitigating and limiting damage. The fire itself, though, has highlighted a number of issues, not least as it relates to the fire service's access to water in the event of an emergency.
Yeah, look, I'm going to use this opportunity to just kind of praise the local community and their very quick response. One of the people in the community that came to the aid of those that were at the house at the time ended up getting some medical treatment afterwards. So it's really important to recognise that. And our fantastic fire staff, both their Huahaniagas Gidor. But unfortunately, what this has shown up is that when the fire staff went to the fire hydrants, which was only literally up the road from where the fire happened, unfortunately, I'm told that they had no access to the fire hydrants, and not just one, but a number of them. And this is very, very unfortunate that they had to go a number of miles over the road to get to a fire hydrant, and that's not good enough.
So when you say they had no access, were they not working, or were they blocked off, or what's the story? Well,
I'm waiting for a report. I've asked for a report off Irish Water. Obviously, I got in contact right away on when I was told about this, what Irish Water, and I'm waiting for a report back on it now. We've seen a number of years ago, this time it was, I think 3 years ago, when we had the big fires in West Donegal, and we at the time that highlighted the issues around the fire hydrant as well, because at the time that we had different brigades into the area. Some obviously they wouldn't be familiar, so if you had brigades in from Ballyshannon or up north and Inishowen, they wouldn't know the area as well, and things were very hectic and manic at the times during that time. And the difficulty then was that some of the fire hydrants were covered over with tar, some of them mightn't had opened, and I remember at the time, and I think I spoke to yourself, Greg, about this at the time, where I submitted a question to Donegal County Council in relation to the fire hydrants in terms of mapping them, and that we as a local community, because we were still trying to set up a rapid response unit. We had a meeting last Friday actually in relation to that, but Irish Water came back and said at the time, which this is absolutely bonkers, says that under data protection they couldn't release where the fire hydrants were to a member of the public or a councillor. So this has brought up yet again the issue of fire hydrants. Are they serviced? Are they looked after? Are they functional? And also that there is a huge need for fire hydrants in different areas. I know now Heathrow and the Parston, Carrickhill, there's a need there. I know up in Dunlewy there's a need there, and in many other places.
So what we really need is an audit here. We need a map with the current locations of the hydrants, and I think that should be publicly available, the same as defibs are, because these are life-saving, not for public access as such, but even if the public needs to notify someone of where there are. You would imagine that has to be available and made available to the fire service. If it's not, that's a shock in and of itself. But we need public access to that, but also an audit of them. Go round, they all need to be checked to make sure that they aren't covered over. Because if that information is wrong, the fire service, the last thing, exactly, the fire service, the last thing they need is uncertainty as to whether their access to the water is there or not. I mean, this is basic stuff.
Absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, our fire crew put their lives at danger every single time they go out. It's a very real situation, need that be a gas fire, a car fire, or a house fire, and they could very easily not come home. And the least that we can do is make sure that we have every infrastructure in place that needs to be in place. Now, at the meeting on Friday, we were told that they were going to look at fire hydrants. I remember at the time, I think it was GPRs, or I can't remember now. What do you call that thing you call when you...
GDPR, is it?
No. When you're able to pinpoint an area.
Oh, right. GPS.
GPS,
yeah.
Thank you. Because I remember I was saying to them about, can we GPS it? Can we make sure that that each brigade has access to computer, and they know, so if Gador had to go up to Inishowen to fight a fire, that they just press a button, bang, they know exactly where all our fire hydrants are and other services that are needed. But look, at the end of the day, it was a very unfortunate situation that happened at the weekend. We had a family coming home from Scotland for holidays. The thatch roof went on fire. The quick response from the local community, and I couldn't praise them enough, and our fire service. But bad enough as it was that we had a fire, but not having the fire hydrants in place or working, that's not acceptable in any means, and you cannot justify this anyway. And what we need now to do, and I'm not being opportunist here in the sense that I'm trying to be a couture. Irish Water needs to come out on Highland Radio or any other media and explain to our community why that happened.
Well, preferably Highland Radio, but I take your point from my perspective. From my perspective, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Listen. Thanks.
Listen, I really appreciate that.
Thanks for your time. And as I say, I don't think GDPR or anything else should be used as some sort of a smokescreen here. I think it's in everybody's interest, be it the council, Irish Water, because it would be good PR for them, and particularly the fire service, that we find out where these are. Make sure they're not covered over. Maybe, I don't know if the roads department have a role. Maybe they're being covered over during roadworks. Who's to say?
That does happen.
But
that does happen.
We do need to make sure. We do need to make sure that.
But just in a final point here, and I think this is really, really important. Look, since 2011, I think we've been fighting the water issue, right? And this is another clear indication that Irish Water, our water infrastructure, needs to be in control of our county, which is Donegal County Council, and not a national body.
Yeah, but yourself, a lot of the maintenance is done locally, though.
Yes, a lot of the maintenance is done locally, but there has been a shift, and there's a bigger, broader discussion around that, how Irish Water was looking to bring our staff under Irish Water, but that's a different kind of conversation.
Yeah,
but
okay,
at the same time, Irish Water, or our water infrastructure, we are served better by having our local staff, which is fantastic in the water service. We would be served better by having it and getting rid of Irish Water altogether.
Right, okay. Thank you very much indeed for that, Councillor Micheál Colm. Another councillor, Michael McClafferty, joins us now. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Greg.
You share your fellow councillors' concerns.
I'll back him 100%. What he's saying there, he's 100% right, Greg. It is crazy. A couple of points there. The final point he closed on there. First of all, the water should be in our own ownership, not private ownership. That should never, ever happen, Greg. Secondly, then, this GDPR crack about that he requested, by the way, to get maps of where the service valves were, where they were at, the taps were at, and couldn't get it then due to data protection. Data protection's clearly gone mad here on many things. many things. Fire hydrants, I do not see what data protection has got to do with where a fire hydrant may be.
Are you going by what the cancer said, Micheál Colm said, or have you come across that yourself as well? Not that we're not doubting him for a second, but if that is the case, you're also shocked.
Well, I am shocked. Yes, I haven't come across myself because I haven't actually asked the same questions he's asked, obviously. But I am shocked that this is the situation. But touching on that...
See, what doesn't make sense with me, because GDPR is about protecting individuals' privacy. I don't understand how GDPR can protect the location of a hydrant. We're not going to steal its identity,
I don't see how it comes into it either. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, the fire hydrant is obviously there for a reason. It's there for the fire service or likewise that may need to use it. Also, as well as that, you need particular special tools to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's of no use or benefit to anybody knowing where it's there. Obviously useful for the public, yes, but not under data protection. Every fire service that comes in, Greg, needs to know where it is.
Listen, we can keep an eye on it. 45% of our water, treated water, is being lost through leaks. It can't be about them afraid that we're going to steal water, for crying out loud. I'm not saying that you're saying that, but me and you are just trying to speculate as to why this should be a secret. It shouldn't be. This should be public knowledge.
It shouldn't be a secret, Greg, and as I said to Caroline there as well, prior to getting on there, if there is some legality that myself and Councillor McConalogue is not aware of, indeed the whole public is not aware of in relation to a fire hydrant's location, which I'm totally at a loss of that. But setting that aside, if there is some legality that we're not aware of, it's up then to Irish Water, first of all, to answer Councillor McGlaspy's questions that he's obviously put in this morning or over the weekend there. And secondly then, in relation to the fire hydrants themselves, they need to do a map like he has asked for. Irish Water needs to do a map and inform every fire station in Donegal or Northern Ireland where the hydrants are. And go further than that, Greg. Put air code on them all.
Okay. It shouldn't be beyond us. Look, it shouldn't be a secret. I don't know what's going on. We're going to make our own inquiries with Irish Water as well. We had the warning 3 years ago with the Ghost fires, and yet here we are 3 years later, and still the work of the fire service is being hindered because of the infrastructure not being available to them. Michael, thank you very much indeed. Councillor Michael McClafferty there. Have you a view? 086 60 25,000. We spoke to some amazing people last week, and I mean that, by the way, who were highlighting to us, the impact motor neuron disease has on individuals and has on family members. You might remember Kathy Callahan. She lost her mother, Winnie, who had motor neuron disease, and it all happened so quickly, and young children and everything. But anyway, Kathy emailed us to give us an update on what the story was with the walk with Winnie. And she says, I thought I would let you know that Saturday's walk was a great success. How many people would you say took part in that one walk alone? 700. Isn't that amazing? 700 people took part in the walk with Winnie, and they've managed to raise over €19,200 so far. €19,200. Thanks so much for allowing me to talk on the programme. It was such a great success in relation to the walk. It allowed people to understand what exactly MND is. My phone has been hopping since, so that's great. And well done again, Kathy. And really, this is nothing to do with us. This is what Charlie Bird started on RTE. And everyone's just, obviously it touched an awful lot of people, and we were glad to play a little small part in helping to promote some of these events. Right, okay. We're going to be talking about the rising cost of energy, something none of us, very few of us, very, very few of us are insulated from. We're going to be talking about that after these messages.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Thank you for filling out your census form. Your census enumerator will soon call to collect it. If you have any queries, visit census.ie or call 0818 202204. Census 2022. Be counted.
Flanagan's massive half-price store clear-out sale is now on in Buncrana. There's 50% of Irish-made sofas, tables, beds, wardrobes, rugs and occasional furniture. Pay today and take it away. See flanagans.ie.
Hello there, this is Daniel O'Donnell here, and I'm delighted to be able to tell you that we're coming back to the Millennium Forum in Derry for a couple of concerts. We're going to be there on Wednesday, August 31st and Thursday, September 1st. Both these shows are going to be taped for American television, so I hope you can join us. See you then. That's the Millennium Forum, August 31st and September 1st.
This summer, holidays are go with Jet2 Holidays and Atlantic Travel. So go explore your sunny favourites with hundreds of free child places available. Ask the experts at Atlantic Travel about your next Jet2 holiday by calling 074 912 6193. And book now with just a £60 deposit per person. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. Subject to availability and conditions.
The Villa Rose Hotel, Ballybuffet and Anchorage Gidor present the Dublin City Ramblers Easter Weekend, April 16th and 17th. The Villa Rose will also host Mac Fleetwood, the ultimate Fleetwood Mac tribute band, on April 23rd. All tickets €20 each. Telephone or see hotel websites for full details.
All right, okay, so we all know that the cost of heating and running our homes is increasing all the while, and our vehicles. But we're going to focus, I think, on the cost of our electricity. And to help us, Barry Sharkey of Northwest PV joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Barry. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. I'm here. Go ahead.
Okay, now, you made a presentation to the government's Climate Action Committee in January 2019. What was the thrust of your contribution?
Thrust of my contribution was trying to get them to bring in some grants for homeowners and businesses to help them install solar PV systems which produce electricity and will bring down the cost of electricity to the homeowners and the business owners. So that was my presentation.
So what is the breakdown of a bill? Because I have in front of me here an article, My Big Fat Irish Electricity Bill, and it is...
Who wrote that?
I don't know. Is that yourself, is it?
It was, yeah.
Right,
yeah,
tell us about the breakdown of it. Where's our money going?
Okay, well, at that time, as you know, the government was promoting electric vehicles, electric cars. They were also stopping people from installing oil heating systems in their homes, stopping people from installing solid fuel stoves with back boilers in their homes. So you're left with one alternative only to heat your home, which was a heat pump. So I was trying to explain to the committee that what's coming down the road and which has happened 4 years later is that homeowners now are putting everything on one bill. They're putting their electricity usage for their normal lighting and cooking, but they're also putting their heating and their travel for charging their cars all in one bill. And unless there was some radical change the way the government was running the energy market, homeowners are going to be faced with an absolutely massive electricity bill, and it has happened.
You'd be a big advocate of smart metering. Tell me why.
Well, at the time they hadn't brought in smart metering, and I asked the committee, what happens to the excess electricity that's generated at night by the wind farms? Because, as you know, the electricity generated by wind farms, you use it or lose it.
We can't really store it at the moment. There is talk of investing in batteries, but if it is wasted effectively, if it's not used.
Correct. So at that time, there was no battery storage, but in the subsequent years, there has been several small-scale battery storage systems built around Ireland. The beauty about these is that these can carry over short-term grid loads, but not long-term. So it means that instead of having a spare gas turbine generator running away there, but not required, but they have to have it up and running and, as the man says, warmed up and ready for action. But the batteries can do the same thing, so you save energy and not having to have spare generators idling on standby. So my point about the smart metering was, I asked the committee, what happens to the electricity that's generated by the wind turbines at night when it's blowing a gale around the country? And they all looked at me with big stupid faces and said, "We don't know." And I said, "Well, I can tell you, the energy people are short-circuiting that into the ground, so it's been wasted." And then they looked at me again, "And what do you want us to do about it?" And I said, "Offer it to the people for a nominal price."
But what would you do? Like, how would we avail of cheaper electricity at night? Because I can tell you one thing, because I speak to an awful lot of people, say, for instance, in the fire service, I wouldn't have my washing machine on while I was in bed. I wouldn't have my dryer on while I was in bed, and I wouldn't put the dishwasher on while I was in bed. So what do you use electricity at night for if you're your average cautious homeowner?
Well, I understand. I don't think there's any problem with washing machines. The problem is with mainly clothes dryers because of the fluff that's gathered up in them, and the fluff is very flammable. And there is a danger, that the fluff can go on fire, especially if the.
But I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at night, even with the washing machine on, if I was in bed, especially with children in the house. Do you know what I mean? It's whatever about me.
Correct.
So what would we be using this cheaper nighttime? Charging the car, perhaps, maybe that could be certainly one option if you had an electric car.
Correct. There's two things easy to do with it. Number one, you charge your car. But number two, for the homeowners who are fortunate enough to have installed solar PV systems with battery storage, they can charge their batteries at night on this cheap electricity, then use it during the day when the electricity is double or even treble the price. I was talking to one of my customers yesterday, and he has a smart meter installed, and he shopped around for the best nighttime rate, and he's getting 7 cents a unit. Whereas today, most homeowners are paying anything from 21 to 25 cents a unit for daytime electricity, plus that at 13.5%. So that's two uses for it.
Yeah, not. I mean, because I was saying earlier on, you'd be familiar with the website. I'm sure that you can see how much of our electricity needs are being met by wind. And for 1 week last month, it was something like, it was last month. It was something like 83% of our energy needs were being serviced by wind. During the very good weather, obviously the wind died, and it dropped significantly down to around about 20-25%. Should we not, though, given that, be more insulated than maybe other countries? Because that seems quite a high contribution. More insulated from the rise in the likes of gas and oil for the generation of electricity. I would like to see that breakdown, because I just wonder, are the providers here creaming it a little bit?
Well, we do have the second highest electricity prices in Europe. The only the only country that has higher rates than us is Germany. But one of the reasons the Germans have put up the price of electricity is literally to force their own population to embrace renewable energy and install alternative renewable energy sources such as solar PV or even wind. But what you can do with the nighttime electricity is, here's an idea. We have 10 turf burning stations in Ireland, or as they're called, peat burning power stations. We generate electricity from peat. 6 of those have already been shut down, and the other 4 are being shut down because they're seen as sources of pollution. All 10 stations have a very large grid connection. Those are logical sites for battery storage, which we need to increase so that all the surplus wind power could be stored in those batteries and then distributed back into the grid around the country.
That's what we would do, though, if we were truly motivated to be more self-sufficient. But
yes,
I just wonder, we're talking, the government action plan is what we're supposed to do, and the focus is on one less car journey, turning your heating down, taking one less shower. I get that, right? But, I thought when I heard Eamon Ryan talking about this, I thought I'd hear something a little bit more meaningful along the lines of what you're talking about, an actual genuine transition to being more self-sufficient, to using, actually having access to this greener energy, and instead we're talking about, don't use your car as much, turn your heating down. That's valid, but that shouldn't be the sharp end of our fight here.
I agree with you 100%. Our electricity prices are much, much too high, and you're correct in saying that the energy providers. Well, you have two people. You have your energy supplier, who are private companies that buy the electricity from the national grid, which is mostly controlled by ESB networks and so forth. But they do make big profits, and you wouldn't have so many energy providers in the market if they weren't making profits. But the second thing you could do with the decommissioned peak burning power stations is to install solar panels on the bogs. Now, I know there was a proposal a couple of years ago to build wind turbines, but that was knocked back because the bulk of that energy, because of the scale of the project, the bulk of that energy would be exported back to England. And
but we export more electricity now than we import, so we are net exporters of electricity. Do we benefit from? Do we as a consumer benefit from that? Whatever the electricity producer is getting for that exported power, could that not be used to try and reduce our bills? Yes. In a crisis like this, should this country be making money exporting electricity to the UK?
Well, it's good. It's good. It's an income for the country.
It's not the country. It's the company, though. We're not getting any benefit from that.
Well, if the company is based in Ireland, then the company is generating the money, and it's been spent in the local economy, and they're buying that electricity from the people installing the generating stations, installing the wind turbines. Sadly, we've gone against wind turbines in this country. Now the latest thing is we've gone against even installing wind turbines in the sea. We've gone against solar farms. We just have
we have no solutions. You see, I'm hearing the same, and this is why I'm going back to that thing about turn your heating down, one less shower, because as soon as it comes down to the nitty gritty, we don't come up with any real ideas. It just ends up being it's waffle then at that point. It's back onto the consumer. What can you as the consumer do? You know what? What can you as a government or as the powers that be, what can you do for us? It's always coming back to us about what we can do. We can sit in a house that's slightly colder. We cannot go for that visit to our parents. We go a day stinking a wee bit. But you know what I'm on about? Like, I'm just saying, what are you doing for us? They're employed by us, but we employ them to tell us how we should inconvenience ourselves to fix their problems.
Yes, but the only way to fix the problem is to generate more electricity and to generate it cheaper. We will have to stop using coal.
Yes, but I'm sorry to cut across you, Barry. You said yourself we have the second highest, right? I don't know in terms of wind generation where we stand, but I think this would be an interesting two columns to look at in terms of what we're charged for our electricity versus how much we actually produce. So we produce more electricity than we need. That's why we export it, right? So we are, and a lot of that is coming from wind. Not enough, we don't store it, and so on. I get that, right? But we make more power than we can use, right? So, how could we then have the second highest bills in Europe? We're getting done somewhere.
You're correct, and this needs to be investigated, and there needs to be some rational explanation. But saying that, you still have to look at how homeowners can reduce their bill while we're waiting for the government.
Of course, but that can't be, in my view, the principal message. The principal message, I think, should be: this is what we're doing, this is what we're investing in, but this is a 5, 6, 7 year strategy. In the meantime, this is perhaps how you can contribute. Instead, the first line is, well, you turn your heating down. You're loving the heat too much. Don't drive around so much. Stay where you are. Use public transport or your bike. Seriously? Do you know what I'm on about? Like, it's the messaging as always, Barry. I mean, how expensive, for your average person, okay, the savings are there, the green message is there for the likes of solar panels or even maybe a small turbine. But it just is, Barry, for most of us, we just simply wouldn't have the upfront costs. So we want to, but we can't.
Well, yes. And the upfront cost could be reduced. The government do give grants for solar PV in their home. The maximum, they cut it back from a maximum of 3,000 down to 2,400. But my big argument to this is, why are they giving grants and then taking back a big chunk of it in VAT on renewable products. The EU have issued a directive where the government has the opportunity to reduce the VAT on renewable products from 13.5% to 5%. But like everything else, they're dragging their heels on it. But that would be an encouragement for homeowners then to maybe consider installing solar PV. And there are people out there that says, solar PV doesn't work in Donegal, it's too cloudy, we're too far north. But it does. I have customers who installed it last summer, and they had old-fashioned analog energy meters with a rotating disc. And a lot of those old meters will actually spin backwards. And one customer, his meter started spinning backwards in July, and the number started counting down. He didn't get back to his original number until on into the end of November. So that meant he had free electricity from June to the end of November. But of course, his energy provider noticed this, and they sent a man around to put in a digital meter to rectify this problem. And the homeowner said to him, "Are you going to pay me for the excess electricity I export back into the grid?" And the man fitting the meter says, "No, that's not available yet. Will you put your digital meter back in the box and take it away and come back and put it in when you will pay me?" And he chased the man off the street, which he had a right to do, because he bought and paid that meter when his house was built.
Right.
So solar PV does work. Especially then if the homeowner has battery storage, he can avail of the cheap electricity. And the cheapest I've heard so far is 7 cents a unit at night time. So there is things that people can do. The last thing I would say in this is payback. Everybody says, it's very, very expensive. It took me years to pay it back. The payback for a system without batteries is about 4 years. With batteries is about 8 years.
Can you tell us ballpark what the upfront? Because there's a lot of people interested. They want to know what so that you can actually make some savings. What kind of outlay would a consumer need to install solar panels?
Okay, you have two systems, as I said. One with no battery storage, which is a cheaper alternative. A basic system like that would cost you around €4,000 plus, of course, this 13.5% VAT. And with that,
could you do it for cash? I'm joking.
Oh God! Watch your mouth out. You'd never do a thing like that in Ireland.
I'm joking. I know.
There is no black economy in Ireland. It doesn't exist. It's just a rumor.
It's a myth.
So you can have a unit in that basic system which is called an energy diverter, which will divert your electricity into heat your water, so that you will have all the hot water you need for your home from literally, say, February until October.
Yes.
And this is a very popular item, especially in a home where you have teenagers who seem to spend half their life in the shower. So then the larger system is the system where you have battery storage, and I'm afraid it is more expensive. There's a lot more installation labour, a lot more equipment, and it would run out at about 10,500, 11,000.
But the savings are greater, presumably, because you are using all the electricity your panels are generating. There's no loss.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And if the system is sized correctly for the homeowner, it can actually reduce its electricity by at least 50%, but in some cases up to 80%. But you still have to pay your
standing charges. Although they're getting rid of the PSO levy in October. So that would be one safe. Well, listen, Barry, thanks for your time this morning. I really appreciate the insight. All right, thank you.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Play,
I don't give out my phone number. I'm swamped at the moment. You can give out my email, but not my phone number. Thank you.
Okay, take care of yourself. We'll be back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
The Sky Spring sale is here. Get Sky Q with the TV you love all in one place. And super reliable Sky broadband so you can always stay connected. Plus, choose from Sky Sports or Sky Cinema. All for just €60 a month for 12 months. Don't miss this amazing offer. Just search Sky Spring Sale. Availability subject to location. New Sky customers only. Minimum term and further terms apply. For more information, see sky.ie/speeds.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment. All have physical, emotional, and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney & Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny, your football destination store. If you belong on pitch, try a new pair of Adidas Predator Edge football boots, available in kids and adult sizes. Complete your kit with a pair of Murphy's gloves, available in many colours and sizes. Update your O'Neill shorts and socks with the all-important Gum Shield. Then you're ready to compete. Look the part, play the part. In-store, online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Gatwick's back. You can now fly daily to London Gatwick with Aer Lingus, the perfect gateway to explore South London. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, so the weather forecast, a dull and breezy day with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in moderate to fresh westerly winds. Okay, until 10 o'clock we're going to be talking about mental health, and suicide will be mentioned as well. We'll have some telephone numbers for you at the end of this item. Trish Duke is studying personal development mindset and joins us on the programme. Thank you so much for joining us today. Trish, how are you keeping?
I'm keeping well, and thank you, Greg, for having me on the show.
You have an interest, obviously, in mental health. Was it triggered or born, by your own experiences?
Yeah, that's right. I have kind of struggled with mental health through all my adult life. It started in my early 20s. And I have got to the point where, it's such a taboo subject. And I realised a few years ago, I was sort of aiding and abetting this by not coming out and speaking from my experience of what I've come through. So actually, when I started talking about it, it was like a weight off my own shoulders, because I just thought I don't have to cover this up anymore. I can be open about it. And by doing that, it's just to raise awareness for people to become aware of mental health, for them to be more compassionate, more aware, and just become more knowledgeable about the topic.
So when we are better now about talking about mental health, items like this happen more often. But do you think when you are affected by it in real life, people are still reluctant to talk about it and they're trying to deal with it internally? But if they truly felt free to say that they had were struggling with their mental health, that would help in their recovery?
Well, I can only talk about myself, Greg, right? And I can say it takes a lot more than just that to help with recovery, to be fair.
Part of it, though. I mean, obviously, you talked about how it helped in your recovery. I'm on about other people having that same option.
It helped me as in not caring what people thought anymore. From a point of view, I don't have to hide this, that I can speak about it now and not care what people think. Because from my own experience, and I know from other people too, when it comes to a mental health problem, people are embarrassed, they're ashamed, and they want to hide it. But there's no reason to hide it. It's just the same as any other illness.
Yeah, but we can say that. That was my question. We say that, but do people feel that to the point where they can speak and assist in the recovery? I just don't think we're quite there yet, Trish. That was my point.
I don't think so. I do think they're getting better, and I am so glad, but there's still a long way to go. There's so many poor people out there that can't, because they're carrying things they can't talk about, that they're afraid to speak about, things that are causing their mental health issues. And, for some people, it's just very, very difficult to get it out of your mouth and be able to say it openly, because of the fear of being judged. And
you talked too about how we converse or view people dying by suicide.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I did a mental health first aid course before Christmas, and there was something that really stood out for me, and that was that people that die through suicide don't do that because they want to die. They do it because it's such a struggle to live. Now, when I read that, or when I was at the course and when I heard that, I went, oh my God, this is exactly right, because I was in that place where I was having suicidal thoughts. I was planning what I was going to do. I used to be up at night. I was deciding how I was going to do it and that. And when I look back now, it wasn't that I really wanted to die, but the pain, the mental torture is so horrendous.
And you went through an awful situation through that process because you had 2 children and you were contemplating, what would happen if you left them behind. Or can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have never spoken openly about this part before, but when I was really unwell and I had a little boy of 2 and a little girl of 3 months, and I was planning what to do, and I just saw no other way out. I felt it was a burden. This is another thing as well. I don't know, and I would say lots of people feel the same. When you are so badly depressed, you just feel such a burden on your family that you feel this is one of the reasons why, you want to do this, because you're just such a burden. But when I was going through that and I was planning what I was going to do, and then I had this thought, what if it doesn't work out, and what if they take the children off me? And I honestly at that time thought, I'd take them with me. And that seems terrible to somebody that's listening right now, but for me at that time, I could rationalise that. And that's what, people need to realise. When you're in that situation, you're obviously mentally unwell. And you think this is a rational decision, which it absolutely isn't. But when you're so ill, that's the way you think.
Yeah, and you
can rationalise it.
You also, and you hear it. You hear it. It's been said publicly by elected reps and others, but also you hear it casually out and about that suicide is still seen or is seen as some ways a selfish act. You don't believe that to be the case?
Oh, Jeannie, that's one thing that really upsets me when I hear somebody say, oh, well, they were so selfish. They were so selfish. Like if somebody died of cancer, they don't say they're so selfish. If somebody died of a heart attack, they don't say they're so selfish. This person is not selfish. This person is really ill, and the illness took their life, the same as any other illness.
People, and they're texting in, I get that, who have lost people by suicide are saying, no, actually, they did speak. They told us how they felt. They had the conversation. They told their friends. They reached out, but they still died because the mental health services weren't there to support them. That's a major problem. That's where the state has to step up.
Well, when I did this course as well, I was told that people that have made up their mind, really, they will follow through. If their mind was made up, how can I put it like this? If somebody dies of cancer, they die of cancer. The cancer took their life. If somebody had a heart attack, their heart failed, took their life. The illness is so bad.
But if someone has cancer, we do have the services. We have radiation therapy, we've got chemotherapy, we've got the supports, we've got supports that happen afterwards. What we're talking about here is people in desperate situation with their mental health, and those supports aren't there. So I respect exactly what you're saying, but I'm not 100% comfortable with the analogy of mental health versus cancer, because we're doing quite good in terms of treatment and supporting people with cancer. We're doing brutal as it relates to supporting people with mental health issues.
Okay, you're talking from a support point of view.
I'm on about intervention, support, treatment.
Yeah. Look, I can say yes, I agree with that, and I know that, and it's heartbreaking. Just heartbreaking. I've been in the system. I know what it's like. It is like they have a long way to go there, or there's a good bit to go and help and support people. Now there is good help out there too, but I don't want somebody in this doesn't just think, oh my God, what's the point going for help, because it's not there. There is help there, and people, I'm proof of it. You can get help and you can get well.
Yes.
But I know there are cases where, the system let them down as well.
Okay. And in the last minute, I mean, obviously, you're studying personal development mindset. Is your aim, your hope, or maybe you're doing it now to help other people, Trish, through your experience, through your training?
Yes, I want to raise awareness, but I also want people to know that you can be in that dark hole. Like anybody that's listening to this, that's in that dark hole at the moment, and the pain is horrendous. I want them to know that you can get well too, though, because when you're in that point, you don't see anything past that black hole, but you can get well. And I want people to know that, and I know you're probably rushing now for the news, Greg, but there's things, go to your therapist, your doctor, your therapist. There's things that we need to do as well to help ourselves, such as exercise. How are we talking to ourselves? What our thoughts are like? Are we, try and think positively, try and watch positive things on Facebook or Instagram or Netflix, get out, exercise, get the fresh air. The gratitude is really important. Start to focus on what is going well in your life. There's little things too that we need to do to try and help ourselves on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, I think we should chat again, maybe in a longer format. You've made some very strong points, and I agree what you're saying 100%. Don't stand still. You have to try and get yourself active and all the things you've mentioned. Trish, thanks so much for your time this morning. I greatly appreciate it, and as I said, I would love to speak to you again in the future.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
All right, take care. Thank you. Great, strong words there from Trish Duke, and of course, if you feel that you need to speak to someone, and we would 100% encourage it. Look, it's a difficult space because we have to also highlight the deficits that are there, but it does not mean there aren't helps and support, as Trish quite rightly said there. Helpline support Pieta House 074 9126 594 or Samaritans 116 123. Back with more after the news and obituary notices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Catherine Gaffney. The official launch of the Atlantic Technological University is getting underway in about an hour's time, with events at the campuses in Letterkenny, Sligo, Galway and Castlebar. Higher Education Minister Simon Harris will be in Sligo, and the events in all 4 campuses will be linked online. Dr. Sean Duffy was executive lead of the Connacht Ulster Alliance, which brought the 3 former institutes of technology together. He says today's launch event will be unique.
What we're doing uniquely is that we're celebrating across the region. We have 8 campuses across the region, stretching from the north of Donegal right down to Galway. And we're holding a live event on 4 of the campuses in Letterkenny, Galway, Sligo and Mayo. And we'll be streaming live across those campuses. Some of the main events will be happening through Sligo, the Sligo campus, where Minister Harris will be attending there along with the President and the Chair of the governing body. And then we have a series of events then planned from Tuesday onwards, and we're holding a themed event on each of our campuses.
Take shorter showers, cut 1 car journey a week and turn down the thermostat on the heating. There are some of the measures expected to be included in a public awareness campaign as part of the government's efforts to deal with the cost of living, according to the Irish Times. Green Party leader Eamon Ryan is to bring a package of measures to government next week. Meanwhile, a rise in carbon tax is due to be introduced on the 1st of May. But Cara Augustenberg, Professor of Environmental Policy at UCD and member of the Climate Change Advisory Council, says that should be deferred.
Yeah, I'm generally in favour of carbon tax because it gets people to change their behaviour as they see that the cost of carbon is going to increase. They maybe invest in fossil fuel free technologies, but actually because we're seeing that behavioural change now in response to the energy crisis, I think it makes sense to defer this current carbon tax increase.
The Foreign Affairs Minister says the housing of Ukrainian refugees is going to put Irish society under pressure. Already 18,000 refugees have arrived here, and the process of moving people into accommodation pledged by Irish people is underway. However, concern has been expressed about how Ireland will be able to accommodate those fleeing Ukraine while in the grips of a domestic housing crisis. Minister Simon Coveney says we need to respond as we are seeing the tragedy of history unfolding before our eyes.
This is going to put Irish society under pressure. But it is something that we need to respond to because, unfortunately, we are seeing the tragedy of history unfolding before our eyes, and Ireland needs to be part of showing generosity and a humanitarian response to a country that's being devastated at the moment. They are Europeans just like we are, and we need to play our part, as indeed other European countries are.
And it's hoped that the Taoiseach relays a number of recommendations to the Housing Minister following a key weekend meeting with the Mica Action Group. Micheál Martin met with the group on Saturday during his visit to Donegal, where members called for some amendments to the enhanced scheme. The slow nature of the application process was also highlighted, with calls for a review to be carried out. Reflecting on the meeting, Mica Action Group PRO Michael Doherty says the Taoiseach genuinely engaged with homeowners in hopes it will pay off.
He did take the time, he wrote an awful lot of notes and did ask intelligent questions around it as well. So on that one, for example, what I'm hoping he does is to go down to Minister O'Brien and say, listen, what they're asking for here is 2 bolt-ons to the IS 465. He went down the road an awful lot more educated than what he was beforehand. I think that really stood to us, and he did genuinely engage with us here. It wasn't just an exercise. Hopefully it pays off, and he has agreed to meet us again.
Weather now, a dull and breezy day with outbreaks of rain and drizzle and highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees. We're back with the headlines for you at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for Monday morning, the 4th of April. The death has occurred of Father Aid O'Halpine, St Columban's, Dalgan Park, Navan, and late of Glencar, Letterkenny, Philippines and Britain Missions. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Columban's, Dalgan Park, followed by burial in the community cemetery. The death has occurred of Mary McCann, née McGlynn, Old Post Office, Burnfoot. Her remains are reposing at her home. Removal tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock to Our Lady of Lourdes Church in Island for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. Mary's funeral and Requiem Mass will be recorded and can be viewed later that evening on Inishowen Funeral Services Facebook page or YouTube. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Lizzie Cummins, née Gallagher, Plunkett O'Boyle Terrace, Letterkenny, Clonliffe Road, Dublin, and Killymasney, Glenswilly, County Donegal. Her remains are reposing at St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, with Requiem Mass this morning at 11 o'clock. Burial tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock in Clare Galway Cemetery, County Galway. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, care of Jim McGlynn, Funeral Director, or any family member. The death has taken place of Martha Matsy O'Kane, née O'Hagan, Galdana, Manor Cunningham, and formerly of St Johnston. Matsy's remains are reposing at her late residence. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30, going to St Columba's Church, Drummahall, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to St Columba's Church, Drummahall Restoration Fund, care of any family member. Family time before the funeral this morning please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, stay in touch with us. You can WhatsApp or text 086 60 25,000 or WhatsApp, as I mentioned, WhatsApp, or call 07491 25,000. Every day I say you can watch the show, and you can watch the show on our social medias, Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube or Facebook, Highland Radio or Highland Radio News and Sport, and I would say, and you can go to our website, highlandradio.com, and click the link and watch in your browser. But I was making a slight error there in posting that link, but now you actually can go into our website, highlandradio.com, click the link and watch the show in your browser. Right, some of your comments here. It's heartbreaking the amount of young people in the last few months who have died by suicide. Surely we're failing them miserably. It's so heartbreaking. It truly really is unbelievable. Redepression, when you go to your GP to get blood tests to see if you are deficient in vitamins D or B or magnesium, which can lead to depression, it's important to get these tests done first before taking meds for a symptom that could be caused by a deficiency. Seasonal affective disorder too also can lead to a depression. So a sad lamp that you can purchase online can help too. And obviously there's many different forms of mental health, poor mental health, and also there are many different reasons for it. Listen, that certainly could be one. Hi Greg, I changed electricity provider last week. Now I've heard they were increasing by 23% this month. Does that mean mine will increase, or will it stay at the same as the day I changed? You have to see really in the terms of your contract with them. Was it a fixed rate for a year? Another caller says, I feel mental health has gone back about 30 years. It's impossible to get mental health support in Donegal at the minute. The only thing available is via charities, which they believe is disgraceful. Morning all, I travelled from Burt on Friday to Letterkenny to tax my car, only to find that the car tax office is now only open to the public on Tuesdays and Thursdays, with only one hatch open. Does anyone know the reason for these new opening hours? I for one didn't, and I was not the only person to turn up on Friday to tax a car. It's appalling the way the council offices are treating the public at the moment. What a waste of my time and fuel on my part. I mean, obviously, there's the online option if you're able to do so. But yes, they did reopen after being affected by COVID. I don't understand why it's only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If someone can maybe inform us better, is it because, I don't know, it can't. Is it because of COVID? Everything else is operating relatively normal. Last night, every street light was off in Meadowbank Park area of Letterkenny. The whole place was in darkness. Is this the new government policy to save strategy? They say with their tongue in cheek. Another COVID-19 kept us locked up for almost 2 years now. Some authorities think they can tell us how to wash, shower and drive at specific times. Well, they're not telling you to do it at specific times. They're just going to tell you this is how you can help save energy. Obviously, people will or won't. Another caller says it is wrong to say there is no storage for electricity. Compressed air is used for storage when there's low demand for electricity, and the compressed air generator comes into play when there's not enough wind or sun to generate. Now, in our conversation with Barry, he was talking about what he said or what the state was, the situation was in 2019. I don't think we are where we need to be in terms of storing our electricity, but we are seeing improvements. This caller says, 5 years ago today, we lost our son to suicide. My son chatted to everyone about how he felt, but he was let down by the mental health services. And I'm so sorry for what you went through, and I'm so sorry that we're having this conversation on such an important day, a very sensitive day for you. But thank you for being part of the conversation and helping us to get that message out there. What about tidal power, constant all the time? Well, they're talking about shifting to offshore wind and wave fuel generation. Another caller says, how much will it cost to install solar panels and what savings will they generate? I answered, or got those questions answered for you. Don't you realise how often these giant batteries go on fire? It's a subsidised scheme that's destroying the countryside for little benefit, but people prefer to believe the hype as it's easier than facing the reality of the failure of so-called renewables, which, of course, though, if you're anti-renewable, someone might say to you that you're in denial, denying the reality of the benefits of renewables. That's the society we live in now. People have quite polarised, no pun intended, views. Heat pumps are for refrigeration units. They burn more power than necessary. They're not supposed to be for the home, believes one caller. Also, solar panels, I got them and is of the opinion that it was the biggest waste of money. The time you need to light and heat your house is in the winter, and we do not have the sunshine in the winter to generate the power. The whole idea, presumably, though, is that you save through the course of those sunnier months. And that offsets some of your expenditure in winter. I would have thought that was, I think we would know with the amount of sunlight we have, you're not going to have a huge impact on winter, but it's the savings through the course of the brighter months. Does that not, you seem not to be applying that to the expense in the winter and offsetting it that way, which I'm surprised. But this caller says they're not against solar or environmental heating, but we need to look at our country and the government needs to look at the policies as they are all wrong, to continue that point. Okay, good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Here are your numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 4th of April. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S6. It's game number 14. The numbers are 63, 39, 60, 90, 89, 40, 8, 27, 23, and finally 18. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Are you thinking of making the switch to electric? Come visit us in iMotors, Donegal's SEAI EV Dealer of the Year 2022. We will answer any questions and help you make the switch. With our award-winning lineup of EVs available now, come visit us at iMotors in Letterkenny and Malin.
Let's call out his name. Mike Denver in concert with guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Millennium Forum, Derry on Saturday, April 23rd. Tickets at the theatre box office. That's Mike Denver in concert at the Millennium Forum with Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine on Saturday, April 23rd.
If you'd like to save on your home printing costs, switch to a cartridge-free printer. Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics to let you know that Epson EcoTank printers can save you up to 90% on the cost of ink. They're different to most printers because they use an ink tank that's easily filled with a bottle instead of using cartridges. Save money and time with an Epson EcoTank printer at Ben Sweeney Euronics Port Road, Letterkenny and the shopping centre, Dunlow.
Ben Sweeney Euronics. We deliver, we install, we care.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Join me this Monday on the DL Debate as we review all the weekend's GA action. In Championship, our under-20 hurlers play Mayo and our under-20 footballers take on our friends from Armagh. We'll have feedback and analysis from both games, and as our county leagues return, we'll speak with McConalogue and Joseph McKelvey. Also joining me, Irish news journalist Cahir O'Kane to discuss the ongoing standoff between the GA and the GPA and the current fallout of the suspensions after the Donegal Armagh League game. All this and more just after 7 p.m. news on Highland Radio and podcasted on highlandradio.com.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sarah's Kitchen.
And Brendan will join us a little later on as well, previewing that podcast and reflecting on the weekend's GEA action. Right, the higher education ministers in the region today unveiling a new university based in the northwest. Atlantic Technological University combines the former IT Sligo, LYIT and GMIT into one unit. Simon Harris will officially launch the universities later today in County Sligo, and he joins us on the programme now, the Minister for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. Minister Harris, good morning to you. Simon, can you hear me okay?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How significant, I mean, it's incredibly significant, isn't it, today? There's a lot of work, a lot of preparation has gone into this. It's almost actually hard to believe we have arrived at this day.
Absolutely. I mean, such a significant day, and as you rightly suggest, Greg, this is a project that people have been working on in the region for over 10 years. I mean, I particularly want to thank, on your own radio station today, Paul Hannigan, the now former president of LYIT, for his leadership. This is a massive day. I really think this has the potential to be a game changer for the Northwest in terms of access to higher education, but also in terms of balanced regional development and moving beyond this idea that all roads must lead to big cities. In terms of
okay, we're having some
accessing university education. So a really exciting and positive day. And
Okay, I'll tell you what we might do. We are having difficulties with that phone line, Caroline, so that line. So what we might do is get the Minister back on a different line. Stay tuned for that. We want to hear what he has to say. Just to some of your comments in the meantime, carers only get €214 per week to look after a vulnerable person full time, and it's not an option to turn heating down because the vulnerable person may get cold, and it's important that that person is comfortable. And look, the government has conceded that is the case, and they are coming up with more targeted approaches to try and make sure that those that have no options or those that need it most get those supports. Okay, the minister's back with us. Sorry, Minister Harris, you'd kind of concluded that point. We appreciate your time. I just want to ask you, in real terms for people listening, how does this benefit students? How is this new university an improvement on the likes of the LYIT, Sligo IT and Galway, etc.?
So in a very practical terms, it means anybody graduating from what was LYIT up until a few days ago, from this year now graduates with a university degree. So in terms of actually being able to get a university degree while living in County Donegal, be it in the Killybegs campus or the Letterkenny campus, I suppose that's the most tangible and practical difference. The second is the fact that it's now a technological university will ensure that actually more programs across the full range of qualifications can be provided. So it will provide many more opportunities for postgraduate study, many more opportunities for research. And then look, all of this is only good if it's backed up with real money. It will also see, again, taking Letterkenny, it will see a new development in terms of your library, IT and education building, and we have a number of ring-fenced capital funds for technological universities. So in short, graduating from a university, able to access more degree programs, and significant amount of capital funding going in to physically improve the infrastructure of education in Donegal. Yeah,
now people might look at Letterkenny and go, you know what, that's now a viable option for me. I think I will enrol there. But as you know yourself already this year, it's not unique to Dublin or Galway. We saw it here, huge pressure in terms of providing student accommodation. So, of course, with more numbers comes more pressure. From a government perspective, what will you be doing in that regard?
Really, really important point, because up until literally a few weeks ago, an Institute of Technology or a technological university was kind of discriminated against, being honest. They weren't allowed to borrow 1 cent of money to build student accommodation. So the traditional universities were able to borrow to build on-campus student accommodation. Technological universities were not allowed. We've now changed that rule, so my message as I'm in the Northwest today to the new Atlantic Technological University will be, please now come forward with proposals as to how you want to deliver student accommodation, college-owned affordable student accommodation in Donegal and across the Northwest, and we, the government, will be now able to back you with access to cheap capital as well. So I do think that's the potential to be a very significant game changer, because this is not just about students from Donegal studying in Donegal, though of course it's about that. It's also about people from other parts of the country saying, you know what, I actually want to study in Letterkenny now because that's a really good university and it's a viable option for me. But you're right, unless we provide student accommodation, it won't be able to reach its full potential.
Yeah, because people always want that college experience, and for some it is heading out of their own region to somewhere else. Letterkenny becomes that destination perhaps for other areas of the country, and you'll always see that traffic in the other direction as well.
I think that's right. And look, I mean, we've a number of technological universities across the country now, which is great. Your one is particularly unique, though, I think, in relation to the potential for cross-border cooperation too. And this is something I'm very excited about. I had a very good meeting with Paul Hannigan in Derry a few months ago in relation to this. How can our new university in the Northwest now interact with the McGee campus from Ulster University, not far away at all in Derry? And how can we actually get, education and universities don't care about borders. How do we actually get the northwest of the island of Ireland working together? And I've been working closely with the Taoiseach on encouraging McGee now to put forward proposals as to how they can collaborate more with Letterkenny and more with the Northwest. And I think the arrival of Atlantic Technological University now provides a partner, if you like, for Ulster University.
All right, exciting times and a busy day for you. Thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Simon Harris there, Minister for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. He's in Sligo as part of that launch. Donegal-based Minister Charlie McConalogue, Minister for Agriculture, Food and Marine, is focusing in Letterkenny. He joins us now. Good morning to you, Charlie. How are you keeping?
Good, thanks, Greg. Good morning.
Right. We heard from Minister Harris there. This is hugely significant, and it's been a long road to get to here, but we're here.
Yeah, it has been a long road and a lot of work and preparation and investment and organisation as well has gone in over the last number of years to get there. I remember when I was spokesperson for education, it was got through the DAW at that stage, and that's going back to pre-16, and that was the enabling legislation for this. And we've seen since that the first technological university was the Dublin one, DIT, but it's been great to see the massive work that's gone in by Letterkenny IT as well as working with Sligo and GMIT in terms of getting to this particular point. And it's a momentous day really for the region as well as it is for Letterkenny. And I want to recognise the great work that Paul Hannigan and all of his team and the governing body have put in, working very collaboratively with the other ITs as well to get to the stage where we're now a technological university based here in Letterkenny. And we all know that the great contribution that LYT has made to the development of Donegal and Letterkenny over its lifetime since it was first established. It has been central to bringing employment to the town and to the county. It has been central as well to the education of students right across the county. And I think the new avenue of the technological university will see the region go on from strength to strength, and with that technological university and Letterkenny being very much a central driving force in that.
We have to make sure, though, that, as I said to the Minister there, issues like supports and particularly, I think, accommodation. You know, we were talking to people who were travelling great distances to come to LYIT and will so too to the New Atlantic Technology University. We don't want that to be a barrier to growth and development either. That has to be done, and it can't be sat on. We have to move that along as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And so obviously the infrastructure, the development of the campus itself, but also the facilities off that. And Letterkenny has always been very strong at that, obviously, or in doing that. Obviously, the last short number of years has been challenging because of accommodation challenges. And that has been a challenge for Letterkenny students as well as for students right across the country. And the government are investing massively in relation to developing more housing. We have the largest housing programme in the history of the state underway, and that's really important that continues. But it is a challenge at the moment. But from a government point of view, in terms of supporting the new technological university and Letterkenny campus, I will work very closely with them in relation to the infrastructure here. I'm sitting in the IT at the moment, or in the new technological university campus, and also then working to try and ensure that the growth of Letterkenny reflects the needs of the students as well.
Right, okay. Now, last week, I think Taoiseach Micheál Martin's visit to Donegal, particularly in the Mica context, could have been a hugely successful right from the get-go if the PR had been handled correctly. And I think, you know, you could say the same from all sides in terms of the PR side of things. As it turned out, it was a bit of a disaster in that the impression sort of came across that the Taoiseach was forced to pull out of a business lunch for fear of, you know, it being disrupted by noise or what have you. In the end, from what I can understand, a very successful meeting did take place. It wasn't handled great, was it, Minister? Not by you. I'm not putting this on you, but there's a lot of people that are paid an awful lot of money to handle the PR, and they completely cocked it up last year, in my view, or last week, sorry.
Well, listen, I'll deal with that in a second, Greg, but I suppose just first of all to say we did have a good engagement with the Mica Action Group and the Mica Committee on Saturday morning. We first of all visited the home of Claire and Greg McDade just outside Buncrana, and the Taoiseach had a very good engagement with the McDade family. And I want to thank Claire and Greg and their children as well for hosting the Taoiseach. Is obviously, you know, it's a big commitment and a big step for any family to take. To draw that attention on themselves and to host a meeting like that. So I'm very grateful to them for doing that and for hosting us. After that meeting and viewing Claire and Greg's home and the real damage and the impact that Mica has had on it and the need for them to be able to get their home demolished and fixed and to be able to get on with their lives, we then had a meeting afterwards with the committee in the Green Inn Hotel. And again, it was a very constructive meeting where we discussed where we were at the moment, where we've come from, and the way forward. And obviously, this is an issue which the Taoiseach has shown tremendous support for since he was appointed and since this government was appointed. The only meeting the Taoiseach has conducted in the county before now was actually the meeting with the Mica Action Committee back last June, because obviously in his 20 months or so as Taoiseach, it's been enveloped by COVID and not being able to get out around the country the way you normally would in that period of time, which has meant that he's had limited opportunity to visit any counties. But the one visit and meeting he did in the county was a meeting last June, where I invited him to come and meet with the Mica representatives and also to visit a home. Following on from that, then the Taoiseach asked Minister Darragh O'Brien to establish the working group to actually take the issue forward, and then coming out of that, Greg, then we had the cabinet decision in November. And it's important to reflect just on where we're at now compared to then. And that's not to take away from the frustrations everyone will feel in relation to the fact that in terms of the pace of delivery and the need to get it delivered as quickly as possible. But back when the Taoiseach visit last June, we had a scheme which was supposedly 90-10, but certainly wasn't. And also we had a maximum cap of 275,000. What we have now, following the cabinet decision in November, is a scheme that delivers up to €425,000 per home and is based on the going market rate to be set and established through the charter surveyors. And that's something we know that was published last month and which reflects the cost of the day, and I think that's been recognised.
But you know, obviously that's where we're to now. But
that will happen every year.
There was a lot of concerns though about about the scheme, things that needed to be added onto it. The fact that people's concerns, with the IS and what have you. Are you satisfied now that the Taoiseach has gotten that message and the concerns of the likes of the Mica Action Group will be addressed now?
Well, I think the Taoiseach is very clear on the issues that are there, and I mean the Taoiseach was very clear as well on the fact that he wants to see this progressed. He wants to see homes fixed, and it's his absolute commitment to ensure that happens. The scheme is up and running now about 18 to 20 months. The first thing that Minister O'Brien did after he was appointed was come to the county to officially launch that scheme and to meet with the group at the time. Over that 18 months, there has been 800 applications to Donegal County Council. 300 of those have been processed to stage 2. There's another 300, and we discussed this with the Taoiseach, which are awaiting decision, and that's a real source of frustration for those families. And that requires further engagement and clarification around the issues of other substances other than mica and pyrite. And that work is underway, but the Taoiseach is very much aware of the importance of getting those moving as well.
Did he timeline that? How long is it going to take for those clarifications?
Well, what the Taoiseach committed to was to engage further with the relevant officials and department now in relation to emphasising the urgency of trying to bring those.
But he
forward.
Accepts then? Does he accept what the people are saying, and he's going to work to address those concerns?
Well, I think what the Taoiseach accepts is the absolute need to deliver and to have homes fixed, and the absolute importance of that. But if you look at where we're at, the cabinet decision was in November. The updated costings are happening now, and what has happened as well as the testing has gone underway over the last 18 months since the scheme was first launched. Other issues have emerged around pyrite, around other deleterious materials. And the Taoiseach was very clear in the fact that we need to bring clarity to that as quickly as we can. But he was also very clear that requires the National Standards Authority of Ireland, who are the competent professionals in doing that, to actually complete that work, and that there will be time involved in doing that. But what he wants to see, and what we all want to see, is as many houses as possible moving on quickly and actually getting delivered. And that's his key commitment coming out of this. So I think it was very useful, and certainly the Taoiseach emphasised once again his commitment to this, and also emphasised how this has progressed in relation to from his visit last June to the working group. It's been set up to the cabinet decision in November, to also the updated costing from the charter surveyors a few weeks ago, and the absolute commitment of the government to bring this forward, because we know this has been on for many years. We know this has been slow, and we're absolutely committed to delivering on it, Greg. And the scheme was confirmed in terms of initially back just before the last general election. And this government has given massive commitment to it because we understand.
I suppose now what
blighted this people's lives, the importance of actually delivering a scheme which will work for
and
everyone.
People hear you, right? And we heard from reps saying that they thought it was a positive meeting, and that the Taoiseach went with more information than he arrived with. I suppose what people want to see now is actually this all being acted upon. Do you know what I mean? That we're not talking about it. We're not talking about we're looking at this and we're doing that. That we actually see a scheme that is, close to the finished product, that's actually, getting people back into rebuilt homes. And I think that's, until that happens, for some people, it's just going to be like, well, this is just more and more conversation. But that's politics, I suppose, and that's, wheels can move slowly at times. But would you agree that, what we really need to see is real momentum on the ground?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what the Taoiseach very much said, both when he was at the McDay visiting, talking to Claire and Greg, and also talking to the Mica representative group as well at the meeting afterwards, was the absolute importance of seeing houses fixed and people getting confidence around that their home will be fixed. And he's impatient to ensure that happens as well. At the moment, we have just about 5 homes nearing completion. The scheme is in place for every 18, 20 months. There's only 5 homes so far that have got to that point, which they're very well advanced. There's 300 or so homes which have been approved for demolition. There's the other 300 homes which are awaiting decision, and that's a frustrating position for those. And the Taoiseach is very keen.
How long do you think those 300 might have to wait for clarity?
Well, we don't know the answer to that, but what the Taoiseach is very clear is on the need to try and bring clarity.
See, that kind of feels to me like the scheme is stalled then.
No, I wouldn't say the scheme isn't.
Well, if we're in a position where there are 300 people who are waiting for clarification, we don't know when that clarification will be forthcoming. That's a stalled scheme. I mean, stalled it's not a very good word for you, obviously. Well, but that we sometimes we have to just talk in real terms. The reality at the moment is the scheme stalled until such time as these issues are addressed.
We need to move those on, and we need to find a way to move those on. And part of that, Greg, is the need for new evidence and criteria around how the new materials which have emerged in the last number of months around pyrrhotite and sulfurs are dealt with.
Can that review continue? Can we look at these other materials and see, if things need to be changed? Can that happen at the same time as the scheme progresses? Or
yes, that's what we want to achieve. And
can it be done?
There's obviously 300 homes there at the moment which can progress. The next step here now as well is the legislation to introduce the new scheme, which the government will be bringing forward this month, and then which we will bring through the Dáil by the end of this Dáil, by the summer, the end of this term, by the summertime. The new scheme then will be developed from that legislation, and also will take over from the outgoing scheme. And the clear commitment has been given by the government that in terms of the new scheme coming in, that anyone who was in the outgoing scheme won't be disadvantaged in any way, and will be able to benefit from the new terms and conditions that are in the scheme. The work is ongoing in relation to developing that scheme and developing that legislation and teasing out the wider issues around putting this in place. There's an expert forum that are dealing with it, which is involving the different agencies, the council, the housing agency, and the department. Also, then there's the homeowner forum, which is feeding in the homeowner issues as well to this. So that's how it steps out from here on. But there's a massive amount involved in it, Greg, as we know. But there's an absolute commitment from the Taoiseach and from the government there, and from myself and all our government representatives here in the county to move this on. And I think the key thing is, in terms of where we're at now, it's an entirely different place to when the Taoiseach set this process in place last June, with an entirely different scheme, with a scheme that reflects the cost. It will reflect the cost of building of the day this year and every year here going forward, which should give because of that, should give homeowners the confidence that their home can be fixed. But key to that is making sure homes get fixed and as quickly as possible.
Okay, are you in a position now, say we're talking about fixing homes, are you 100% confident now that we are using blocks that won't fail from wherever they might come from? Can you say with absolute certainty now that we are rebuilding these homes with blocks that will not end up failing?
Well, we need to be able to say that with absolute certainty.
Can you say it now?
And that's why, as part of the cabinet decision in November as well, a review of the standards that are in place there has been initiated to fully review all of that. The assessment from the department at the moment is that the standards that are in place up until now, and the oversight that's in place, that they are of standard. But to be absolutely sure in that.
Well, are we going in and checking, or are we relying on them to check themselves?
To actually assess that.
So are we going in and sampling blocks, sampling materials? Are we going in to block manufacturers and independently assuring ourselves that these materials are up to a standard, or are we relying on them to tell us that that's the case?
So the National Standards Authority of Ireland oversees that process, and there is systems in place to do that, and they oversee that. And there is the view is that the systems that are in place are effective. But that has been reviewed.
But wouldn't you be assured? Wouldn't you be assured if someone handed you a folder and it was an independent body that had gone into quarries, checked what materials are being used, checked the blocks, and handed it to you and say, yes, we're assured now that these blocks are 100%. I mean, that's why don't we do things like that?
We want to be absolutely sure in that, Craig, and have absolutely no doubt. That's why it's being reviewed. And it's crucial we do that.
Right. Do you want to clarify what the situation with this lunch was last week, or is that history now?
So no. Well, listen. It's really important. It's important that there's no doubt whatsoever of the fact that the Taoiseach was absolutely committed to meeting with the Mica Action Group, and I think I was very disappointed in the way last week evolved, and in terms of how the Taoiseach's commitment to actually meet with the Mica Action Group was misrepresented. Indeed, he was disappointed at that as well. Because, as I say, he has shown great commitment to this from the outset and has driven this through. And I want to recognise the massive work that homeowners have done, Paddy Diver and all of the group, the Mica Group, in terms of turning this from a regional issue into a national issue, which is obviously very important in relation to getting the result and the scheme that is now committed to as well. But the Taoiseach's commitment to that has been essential.
And you went through that in your timeline, that in fairness.
Yeah, but listen, listen, the Taoiseach's, obviously the shared island unit is something that the Taoiseach has been very committed to and has driven forward, really important for this region from the outset. Mm-hmm. His shared island unit had arranged and was in the process of arranging a meeting for Derry, visits in Derry, and also some in Donegal for a visit for the Taoiseach, because he was very keen as soon as COVID allowed to actually come to the region to deal with the shared island.
So who cancelled the meeting?
Let me step it out. So that involved a number of meetings in Derry. One really important meeting with the North West Cross Border Group, which our own councillors in Donegal and Derry were involved in, which was really, really useful and constructive, for example. But also there was two meetings then committed to the Chamber of Commerce, which is the business association in Letterkenny, representing all businesses in the town from small to large, had requested a lunch meeting and had written to the Taoiseach around that. The shared island unit had agreed to that as part of the wider trip as well. Key to that as well, time was left aside to ensure that there would be meetings, as well. Top of the list being the Mica.
Okay, so really what it was is that came. You committed mid-March to make that meeting happen, but by the time the itinerary was finalised and you wanted it located in Inishowen, that clarification came late, and in between that, a meeting was planned, a protest was planned.
So there was no.
There's no point going over it again. That's what happened, really, isn't it?
No, there was no itinerary finalised until the Mica meeting. Until the Mica meeting was finalised and other items were finalised. So I had engaged with the chairperson of the Mica Group, Eamon Jackson. He had asked me for a meeting when the Taoiseach was in the county. I'd said absolutely. At that stage, it was just around St. Patrick's Day or shortly afterwards. The Taoiseach was obviously detained in Washington. Yeah. And I said, as long as the visit was going ahead, depending on what happened with the Taoiseach being detained in Washington around COVID, there would absolutely, and I would be absolutely arranging.
So, and that's clear from your perspective now.
So it's important to step this out, just Greg, for clarity, because there's been lots of videos and other things put out there over the last week around this, and it's important that they just clarify that. And obviously that led to the cancellation then as well by the Chamber. That really important engagement with the Chamber that would have involved discussing many issues important to our county.
Why didn't you have that in on? You don't have to have lunch or coffee or tea. Why didn't you have that in the Argyll or on Green or in LYIT? Get rid of the lunch and the tea and the coffee and the orange juice and just have a meeting.
That was an invitation and a decision by the Chamber of Commerce themselves to invite the Taoiseach to that, and that would have been a really good engagement. And the Taoiseach was absolutely committed to doing that. So I went back, obviously, given the fact that the week before last, the Taoiseach was detained for most of the week in Washington and then had to go to Europe after that at the end of the week for an engagement around Ukraine. I was engaging with his team then around the arrangements for the Mica meeting. But on Tuesday afternoon, I had it clarified, an absolute confirmation in terms of a time and Inishowen. I went back then to the chairperson of Mica Committee on Tuesday to say the meeting would be in Inishowen at 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning. Or on Saturday morning. So that evening then, I saw the video which had been put up in the Mica committee saying that they had been ignored and that calling a protest. I went back to the Mica committee and said, what is the story with this? Nobody has been ignored here. The PRO of the Mica committee, Michael Doherty, was in your show then Wednesday morning. I went on afterwards.
When you said to them, you said, I told you on Tuesday that the meeting would be taking place in his show on Saturday, and now a video's going up saying that you've been ignored. What did they say when you said that? So
Michael Doherty then went on your show on Wednesday morning. I'll just deal with that. He went on your show Wednesday morning, and I had heard about it and went on straight after to say that absolutely not. There was a commitment to a meeting. The meeting is happening. It's happening Saturday morning. So I then talked to the chairperson again and said, this is absolutely unacceptable. There was never any question whatsoever about this meeting taking place. That evening, and also, Greg, when I went back to the chairperson of the group on Wednesday or on Tuesday to arrange the meeting, I'd asked them to identify the property because I wanted that to be a role of the committee, and I'd also left it with them issue an invitation to either Paddy Diver and Anne Owens or Riley and Doherty, because I didn't want any instance of anyone being ignored or not involved in this. And I said I was going to be working through the Mica Action Committee in all ways in terms of arranging this meeting. The chairperson then, after I was on with you on Wednesday morning, as was Michael, the chairperson of the Mica group then came back to me on Wednesday night to say that, first of all, that the PRO of the committee, Michael Doherty, wasn't aware and hadn't seen the message I had sent to him in Jackson committing to the meeting in the first instance, and that I could expect an apology from the PRO for saying that I had ignored them when I would next see him. So, and also they asked that the meeting with the Taoiseach would be in Letterkenny, at a home in Letterkenny, not a home in McConalogue, as I had requested and as I had agreed with the Taoiseach. So I said my preference had been in Ishowen, but if it was the preference of the Mica group to go to Letterkenny, then so be it. The next morning, of course, then the Chamber of Commerce and the hotel cancelled the lunch of the Chamber of Commerce lunch. So the Letterkenny aspect of the visit was then off, because there was going to be a second engagement at Letterkenny, but it was also being covered, just to make this point, is important, that was also being dealt with at a meeting in Derry the previous day. So that was going to be, that then wasn't happening either. Obviously the Taoiseach was then, this was explained to the Taoiseach, and he was very disappointed at the fact that his commitment to meet with the group was being portrayed as the issue being ignored, particularly given his involvement from the outset in terms of the previous June. So I then went back on Thursday morning to the Mica group and said this was totally unacceptable what had happened. The Taoiseach was still going to meet them as he always had, and that it was going to happen, and he was insistent on going to Buncrana because that's what he committed to. And I asked them to come back to me then with a property in Buncrana for the meeting. Okay. So that was Thursday morning, and then by Friday morning we still didn't have details of the property, unfortunately. I then had a call from the Friday afternoon while I was in Derry, still not having details of the property from the Mica group. I had a call from John O'Connor, the chair of the housing agency, to engage in this and to see if other engagements. Obviously, the committee had engaged with him to see if other events could be held. I'd said to John that the messing that had gone on in relation to the arranging of this meeting was absolutely unacceptable. That the Taoiseach had always committed to meeting with the Mica committee.
Okay.
That I had
and
asked
you've made all that
property,
very clear. So
that I had that I had asked for the venue, the property home, the venue of the property, and that I still hadn't received it. And I went back to the chairperson of the Mica group then, and I have to admit, used some pretty choice language, being crystal clear again that the Taoiseach of the country was seeking to meet with the Mica committee. That I needed the venue and the details so that meeting could go ahead, because we're now running very short in time given that had been clarified. The group then came back and asked, well, would it be possible to meet in a hotel as well? I said, well, listen, the only meeting we had discussed was a property visit and actually meeting at that home. Let's proceed on that basis, but I will discuss with the Taoiseach whether a hotel, I will discuss that with the Taoiseach on Friday afternoon and come back. Right. I then come back to the Taoiseach, I discussed it with the Taoiseach. The Taoiseach said he didn't have a problem meeting at the hotel, so I went back to the committee chairperson and said the Taoiseach is okay to meet at the hotel. I left it with the group then to arrange the hotel, because I said to them I wasn't sure any hotel would want to see us coming after what had happened that week, and no doubt would want assurances from them around how the meeting would be conducted, where they to facilitate it. So then, late on Friday night, the hotel venue was actually agreed, and it happened on Saturday morning. But throughout that week, then there was videos being put up and also a post both in the Twitter account and in the Facebook account of Mica saying that no doubt there will be further twists and turns on the organisation of this before this is over. And I put it very clearly to the chairperson of the Mica committee to say, Eamon, can you point out one twist or turn there has been on this from me or the government in relation to how this meeting was being organised at any stage? Because there wasn't one. None at the government end. There was a commitment to a meeting that was always being followed through on. No twists and turns from the government whatsoever. Thankfully, the meeting did happen then and very grateful to the McDade family, and also a constructive meeting afterwards. But even after that, I saw between going from the home to the hotel, a further tweet then on the Mica committee social media pages talking about how they had, at their insistence, the meeting was happening in a hotel, and again portraying the whole narrative that somehow the Taoiseach was being dragged to a meeting with them, which was never the case.
Okay, well listen,
and when we had the meeting,
and just to I've really given you 10 minutes just to clarify all of that.
When we had the meeting, I clarified that with them, that it was absolutely unacceptable, the messing that went on around this. And I see that the tweet that had been put up on their social media pages that morning had been deleted afterwards as well. So that's what happened. It was very unfortunate.
Yeah. I understand that, but these are I get you. But I mean, these are. This is an absolute.
Exactly what.
Well, you have, and I've in fairness, I've given you that time. I have, but I mean, obviously, emotions are always running high. These are affected families as well. So.
And that's the bottom line. But listen, I wouldn't even go into any
it's
of
bigger.
That
this problem's bigger than Michael Doherty, than Charlie McConalogue, or Micheál Martin, or anyone else.
I wouldn't go into any of that detail, only for the fact that all of that other information was put out, not by me during the week. And it's important to clarify. Because the bottom line is here: the homeowners in this county, the people who need the help and support, for whom every single day is a torture, and every day this goes on, it just adds to the challenge and the frustration. And the government are very much aware of that. We're massively committed to delivering in this scheme. Very significant progress has been made since this government came to office 18, 20 months ago to where we are today. More work is required, and we are working at that. And there'll be more. There will be frustrations as we go in terms of the pace of that, but we will drive it on as best we can, working with homeowner representatives in the process too.
Okay, listen, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. That's Minister Charlie McConalogue. Obviously there's a lot of people out there having different things to say. Just to give him an opportunity to say, of course, by the way, if any other parties want to clarify anything from their perspective too, more than happy to give people that opportunity as well, as you can imagine. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps. I just hope that can be put in the past. Personally, if it was me, I wouldn't have even mentioned that or just let it go. But obviously maybe history's being written here and things are being recorded. But raking through last week, I don't see the benefit in me personally. But again, I'm not an advisor, or it's just an opinion. I think really at the end of the day, the meeting happened. Good things were said about it, and new week, new beginning. But anyway, here we are. Okay, back after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
It's not just a sewing machine. For Maya, it's a chance to give her family a better life. It's not just a way to make a living. It's a chance to give her daughter an education. Like thousands of mothers, Maya lives in fear of what the future holds for her little girl. And it's not just. This Lent, your love can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1800 408 408. Trocra, until love conquers fear.
Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure has everything you need to gear up for the GAA season this year. Get your hands on the brand new Donegal GAA home jersey, available in men's, ladies and kids, or gear up the whole family for pre-season and match days with the new Harlem range of sweaters, leggings and snoods at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Take It to the Limit is a celebration of the Eagles by Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family. You can hear Take It to the Limit for one night only at the Millennium Forum Derry on April 14th. That's Johnny Brady, Simon Casey, Nigel Connell and the Sheeran family band as they perform Take It to the Limit, a celebration of the Eagles on Thursday, April the 14th. Tickets £28. On sale now from the theatre box office or online at millenniumforum.co.uk.
Journey's End by the late best-selling
best-selling author Colm Keane is out now. In it he reveals how death is not an end, but a new beginning. Journey's End, Colm Keane's last book on the subject of death and dying, in bookshops now.
Is your business or farm having difficulty getting a loan or restructuring bank debt? The good news is, there's something you can do about it. For over 10 years, Credit Review has helped Irish SMEs get the credit they need for their business by appealing unfavourable credit decisions. For more information, visit creditreview.ie. Credit where it's due. Credit Review is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Guess where we're going on holidays?
Could be. Get your ticket from Highland Radio at highlandradio.com.
And if that's not enough, enter before Friday the 8th of April to also be in with a chance to win one of our bonus cash prizes of €1,000.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go woo!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Longcom has an exclusive beauty gift waiting just for you at McGee's Pharmacy in Letterkenny. Simply purchase 2 Longcom products, one to be skincare, and receive your free 6-piece gift containing a full-size Tonique Comfort Toner, a choice of either Hydrazine or Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Longcom products. Available for 1 more week or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Orla wanted to spruce up her bedroom, so visited her local Crown Decorating Centre, where she got friendly advice and everything she needed to do the job better, which made her feel unstoppable. So on the way home, she entered a cage fighting competition, where she met the handsome Burgundy Brawler. They got married last week. Coincidence? We don't think so. You see, everything's better when you visit Crown Decorating Centres. It's not just paint, it's personal.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Householders and building owners in areas susceptible to wildfires are advised to cut back or remove any vegetation or other combustible material in the vicinity of their house, building or oil tank to prevent wildfires damaging or destroying their property. Cleared areas should be maintained free of vegetation and combustible material. Donegal County Council would also like to remind landowners and members of the public that under the Wildlife Acts 1976 and 2000, it's an offence to cut, grub, burn or otherwise destroy any vegetation growing on any land not then cultivated between the 1st day of March and the 31st day of August in any year. Donegal County Council, protecting your environment.
Okay, welcome back. Right, reaction coming into that interview with Minister Charlie McConalogue. I'm not sure if anyone wants to challenge that timeline from within the group, but anyway, just some comments on different things that we've been talking about so far. This Monday morning, it's busy again. Why is it taking so long to get the scheme passed? A caller is living in a house that is so bad with damp and causing such severe asthma in her child that they have to move out but cannot achieve this with the cost of rent. Yeah, indeed. Another says it seems that for other circumstances such as Ukraine, things seem to be sorted very quickly. I don't think there's any benefit in comparing those two things. It's up to you, the listeners, if you want. People are in hotel rooms. I'm not sure that's really an option for a family affected by Mica. You know, you can't move, a family of 5 into a hotel room for 6 months. That's what we're doing in terms of dealing with the Ukrainian refugees at the moment. I don't think, does anyone really think that's a viable solution to the Mica crisis? Maybe they do if that is the case, but I don't think so. I personally, I see them as two. We need 2 separate approaches. Greg, can you do all the people of Inishowen a great big favour and tell Charlie that no one believes one word he says anymore? I'm sure some do, but as I said to the Minister directly to him, that I think what people want to see now is action. You know, they want to see results. Hi, Greg. Would you ask... I knew there was something I meant to ask him about the Danish boat that was turned away from Killybegs. Obviously, he's the Marine Minister. That would be a very important question. I'm beating myself up here for forgetting to ask that. My apologies. I might as well be honest. I simply forgot to ask that question, and I wanted to get a line from the Minister in that regard. Ireland is generating electricity, selling it to Britain, and we're paying for that, believes a caller. Very disappointed the coverage RTE gave to Charlie Bird's Klein. A very short clip from Croagh Patrick, but nothing from any other part of the country, I presume they're saying. Okay. Listen, thanks for that. We've another very busy hour. We've so much to fit in the next hour. Our Monday Focus, Brendan Devaney, and so much more besides. But at 11 o'clock, it's time for a news update. And we cross over to the newsroom once again and say good morning, Catherine Gaffney.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Minister for Higher Education has reiterated that the Atlantic Technological University will become a powerhouse in the Northwest. ATU will serve 21,000 students and be one of the largest multi-campus universities in Ireland, with 8 campuses, research centres and iHubs. It was officially launched today at an event in ATU Sligo. The Foreign Affairs Minister says the latest scenes coming from Ukraine are about as awful as you can imagine. Images have emerged of Ukrainians lying dead on the streets of Bucha near the city of Kyiv. There's also reports of a mass grave. Take shorter showers, cut one car journey a week and turn down the thermostat on the heating. That's some of the measures expected to be included in a public awareness campaign as part of the government's efforts to deal with the cost of living, according to the Irish Times. It's hoped that the Taoiseach relays a number of recommendations to the Housing Minister following a key weekend meeting with the Mica Action Group. Micheál Martin met with the group on Saturday during his visit to Donegal, where members called for some amendments to the enhanced scheme. Meanwhile, speaking this morning, the Agriculture Minister says the Taoiseach is clear as it relates to the issues with the scheme and wants to see homes fixed. Speaking just a few minutes ago, Minister Charlie McConalogue says Micheál Martin is impatient to see that happen. And over 5,000 census enumerators are beginning the process of gathering up the forms that will shape Irish policy for the future. 2 million forms were sent out nationwide in an effort to capture the current state of Irish life in 2022. That's it for now. We're back with another update for you at 12 noon.
Okay, Catherine, thank you very much indeed. I'm pleased to welcome into studio now Derek Callahan, youth worker with the Donegal Youth Service. Derek, good morning to you.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
And thank you so much for joining us. Right, now we're talking about a recently launched guide which focuses on understanding grief, tailored primarily to or exclusively towards young people?
The idea behind it was that it was written by young people for young people, but with the subject of grief, it doesn't really acknowledge age. The information inside is applicable to anyone who's going through the grief process or someone who has a friend or relative who might be going through it.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, unfortunately, as you get older, grief happens, what I mean? And I don't know if there's something changes within us where we something kicks in that we might try and cope with. There's a nature element to it. It's terribly sad, but as we grow old, we're going to lose people. Older, we lose people around her. Younger people, for some people, I think I was in my 30s before I experienced any sort of, direct grief. But for others, they can experience it at a much, much younger age and maybe aren't equipped as much as others to deal with it.
Yes, the group that come up with the idea, they felt themselves that there wasn't a lot of information out there aimed at young people, which is why they done their research and they wrote the leaflet themselves, and the staff at DYS simply created the leaflet out of what they had created. But yeah, it is sort of true to say, I suppose with maturity comes that resilience.
A bit of conditioning sort of thing.
It is one of those things you can sort of get used to an extent.
And I think it's kind of good in that when you're young, you believe your brothers and sisters or your mum and dad will be there forever. But, unfortunately, that's not always the case. obviously it's well researched, isn't it? Because you have to make sure that it doesn't trigger someone in certain ways or whatever. That it covers the information, but does so in a responsible way, and it's brief, but it's to the point. And I presume that was the target here.
Yes, the young people, some of them had gone through the grief process as young people, so were aware of the potential problems that could be brought about talking about the subject. So yeah, it's all handled in a very informative way, letting people know what the process is, what they can expect while going through it. And also it gives advice on coping mechanisms and advice to sort of people who know someone else going through grief, how they can help.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting too, in that the healthier you are, the better your mental health as an adolescent or as a young person. If you do lose someone, you're in a better position to deal with that as well.
Well, yeah, to an extent. Like ultimately, when we lose someone, it is very sad.
It's devastating, yeah.
But yeah, you sort of do have a point on that. If your mental well-being is good overall, it's less likely to cause further problems.
May I have a look at the leaflet you have in front of you? Yeah, exactly. So the more resilient you can be to such a thing. And there's some tips for coping in this. Well, I think actually really what's quite interesting is the description of what grief is.
Yes, because
we use the word, but I mean, obviously, and it has been done in 2 short paragraphs here. It encapsulates what it is, but it's different for everyone. There's also information on what to expect, what is normal, what's natural, because people might go, well, why do I feel like this, or do other people feel like this? That's covered on it. There's tips on coping, what people can do to cope with and understand grief, and then an interesting bit too, and as I say, it's really short and to the point, on how you can support someone, because what do we do? What do you say?
Yeah, because unfortunately, it's one of those topics that maybe a lot of people don't like to talk about because of their own experiences with it, but we felt it was something that important that needed to be shared in a way that is not going to be too upsetting for people. If they find themselves getting upset, they can simply close the leaflet and maybe come back to it later. From my own experience with grief, I realised, well, I was told that it comes in waves, and a lot of people sort of have these calm times where they might not be as upset.
They're on top of it.
But it is a completely normal part of the process, and a lot of people beat themselves up over that sort of thing unnecessarily.
Yeah, and I think even just to increase awareness, so people, maybe it could be 2 young people, or whatever age they are, that one might pick up this leaflet. They might be having coffee at lunchtime, from college or wherever they might be, or secondary school, and just talk about something like this. Have a conversation about it.
Yeah,
because we'd like to think that it'll, we never have to talk about these things, but unfortunately we do. So,
as you said before, it is something that we will all experience at some point in our life.
All right, it's out there from the Donegal Youth Service. You can access it digitally on the Donegal Youth Service website, but presumably it's being left around places where young people populate.
Yeah, there are copies available in the Youth Information Centre and the drop-in of the Donegal Youth Service.
Yeah, and well, as I say, we're not talking about the entire volume of an encyclopedia here. It's just a small leaflet to the point.
Yeah, concise,
and it's a good thing to get out there. Or what's the reaction been like?
It's been quite good. We've had 1 or 2 people who have said that during their time of grief, they would have loved something like this to help them understand what they were going through
and what they were feeling and why they felt it.
Yeah.
And why am I getting a headache? Because I'm grieving. Sure, one's an emotion and also a physical reaction. Just to make those links, what's normal?
Yes.
Why can't I sleep anymore? You know what I mean? I'm feeling more anxious. I never suffered with anxiety, but now I'm having a panic attack. Why is that? Is there something else going on? You know, and it links in and helps them understand.
Yeah.
Because those are the type of things that you might not mention to a friend or a brother or sister, or you know what I mean? And when you read it, then you can sort of make more sense of it. I think it's very worthwhile in that regard too. Derek, listen, it's been lovely having you. And unless there's anything you wish to add?
No, just as you said, the digital copy can be got from our website, donegalyouthservice.ie. Look for the What We Do publication resources, and you can find that and other information there.
Brilliant. Well done, Derek. Thank you very much indeed. That's Derek Callahan, youth worker with Donegal Youth Service.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
You might think you know Ireland's ancient East, but maybe it's time for a closer look. Uncover stories bold and brave where vibrant city nights follow action-packed days. Set course for countless adventures at Carlingford Adventure Centre, or roam wild in wonder in the Glen of Aherlow and become captivated by the culture and craft of Kilkenny's cobbled streets. Ireland's ancient East, yours to explore. Keep discovering at discoverireland.ie.
Win with low prices from SuperValue with great offers like SuperValue medium egg noodles only €1.04. Epic! SuperValue dark soy sauce only €1.09. SuperValue breaded chicken nuggets only $1.65. Unreal! And SuperValue thin and crispy chips only $1.25. Winning! Win with low prices that compete with anyone. Win with SuperValue.
At ESB Networks, we're connecting Ireland to a clean electric future. And as part of the National Smart Metering Programme, we're now installing smart electricity meters in your area. Your new smart meter will reduce the need for estimated bills, help you to manage your electricity usage more efficiently, and enable you to access smart electricity products and services. We'll contact you before your meter is installed. Find out more at esbnetworks.ie/smartmeter.
Since she got her free hearing aids with her PRSI at Specsavers, Roisin is a changed woman. Music has never sounded better, and that makes her dance. And dance. And dance. Her singing, though, well...
Free hearing aids with PRSI at Specsavers. Music to your ears. Find out more online. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. This summer is going to be one of the busiest ever. Check out our summer flights to European cities such as Barcelona, Cologne and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
Okay, let's see what the weather has in store for us today. It's not fantastic, but sure, look, it's only the weather. A dull and breezy day with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in moderate to fresh westerly winds. Okay. We heard from Minister Charlie McConalogue. He had his say, pretty much uninterrupted, as to how he believed last week's events unfolded as it relates to the Taoiseach's visit, the organisation of the lunch and the meetings and all that stuff. Anyway, Michael Doherty is PRO of the Mica Action Group. He joins us now. Michael, I suppose, look, what we want to do, don't we, is sort of clarify a few things and get this to bed and get on with the work of getting people out of their Mica infested homes and into new homes with no expense to them as soon as is possible.
Yeah, I'm actually quite shocked at what's been unfolding this morning. I'm at work here. I was actually got about 15 different missed calls and messages telling me that we had Minister McConalogue on again, looking to defend what we still see as extremely poor planning. We had a good weekend, is the bottom line. We had very engaging meetings with the Taoiseach at the home of Claire McDade and at a business meeting then, which we called for and insisted upon in the absence of it being called for by anybody else. The homeowners again drove this, as we've been driving everything through the entire campaign. We made the meeting happen. There's no doubt about that. And it happened in the Ukrainian, and it was a very constructive meeting. And as I said in the video, I believe the Taoiseach went down the road an awful lot more informed. Mm-hmm. What I will say is that what disappointed me immensely was at the start of that meeting, and knowing that we had a very short window with the Taoiseach, and we had many, many points, and we spent an hour and a half the night before the meeting, narrowing down to the funnel of all the issues, down to the key points, because we knew we were so time constrained. And yet, Minister McConalogue saw it fitting to take up the first 20 minutes of the meeting, ranting, as he seems to have done again this morning, about how it wasn't his fault, about how Mica Action Group were throwing him under the bus, and about how there was always plans for a Mica Action Group meeting. But the reality is simply this, Greg. There was a meeting eventually after we put out the first video, which was on the Tuesday. Later on that evening, there was correspondence from Minister McConalogue to Eamon Jackson to say that, yes, there would be a meeting, and they couldn't confirm all the details, but it was looking like Friday between 11 o'clock, on Saturday between 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock. CoLab were already in for that slot, and CoLab were being dropped from that slot in order to accommodate Mica Action Group. That tells me we were never, ever on the original itinerary, and we probably wouldn't have had a voice at all with the Taoiseach, only for the actions that were taken. So I heard he's looking for an apology. The only thing
he was told, apparently he was told,
long before now.
Apparently he was told he was going to be getting an apology from you.
Well, it was the only one part when I talked to you the first time round, Greg, was that I had said that there was no correspondence. Apparently, in the 18th of March, I was flying out with Libby. We were on our 25th wedding anniversary. We were heading to Dubai, and I was boarding the plane at 6 o'clock whenever Charlie McConalogue responded to Eamon Jackson's request to say, yes, we'll see what we can do, and we'll be in touch.
Now, he said on Tuesday...
That was 12 days ago.
Yeah, he said on...
Sorry, Greg.
Okay, Michael, go ahead, yeah.
This part's important, Greg. So that was a couple of 3 hours after Eamon Jackson made the call to Charlie McConalogue. Note again, no word from Charlie to us to say, this is a massive opportunity. The Taoiseach's coming our way. Mica is the biggest issue in the county. Let's work together here and see how we maximise this.
Well, in fairness, now that's what should have happened, and that's when I referenced the PR side of things.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a real actual opportunity to.
It didn't happen, Greg.
But apparently,
what I would say is that a couple of 2 or 3 hours after that, Charlie McConalogue come back to say, yes, we'll see what we can do, and we'll be in touch. He was never in touch. 10 days later, he still wasn't in touch, and we were getting up to D-Day when we were about to, we were at the 11th hour almost of the Taoiseach arriving into the county, and no word of no kind. We took the initiative, as we've been doing all along, and made this happen. I'm firmly of the belief that we would not have had what we had if we hadn't forced it. And we forced it on 2 levels. And he's talking about confusion about Buncrana and Karen Donagh. We wanted them to get to see Deirdre McGugan's house, which is probably one of the worst in the county, but they weren't prepared to come to Karen Donagh. We wanted a combo to happen, a package to happen. He had to see, first of all, what a homeowner is putting up with. And they did. And they then needed a business meeting. They didn't want the business meeting. The photo op was good enough, but they didn't want the business meeting. We were not prepared to give names and details for a house that was a photo op if they weren't prepared to talk about the hard graft. And we got both, and I think that's credit to ourselves.
All right, now he said that Eamon Jackson, he spoke to Eamon Jackson on Tuesday and gave absolute concrete commitment to a meeting. And then you come on this programme on Wednesday and you said, I'm paraphrasing here, Michael, it's hard to keep track of the timelines, I hope you understand. You effectively, tore into him and says there's been no contact and so on and so forth. And then Charlie took that up with Eamon on the Wednesday after your interview, wasn't too happy about it. Choice language, I think he said he used in relation to that. And it was during that phone call that he was told that an apology to Charlie McConalogue would be forthcoming from you, Michael.
No, the only part that I had wrong in the whole thing was that Charlie McConalogue come back 2 or 3 hours after Eamon Jackson had messaged him to say, we'll sort something out. But the bottom line, so that part is the only part that was wrong. That part I missed because that was a message that was sent out, and as I say, I was boarding a plane for Dubai. So I missed that part, so hands up on that. But that takes nothing away from the essence and the spirit and the lack of planning that was forthcoming from anybody else other than us. The fact, Greg, that they had to cancel somebody else's slot to get us in there, they don't do that. A Taoiseach coming to the county stuff's organised weeks in advance. We were not on the radar, quite simply that, and we made sure we found a place at the table, and we did, and it was a very good meeting. I think what we're seeing is the acts of somebody in desperation. That's what it is to me. I honestly think he's out of his depth, and, it got to the point where he was prepared to eat up valuable time that we had with the Taoiseach basically clearing his name in front
This
of
is
the
a
boss.
real. This is a real breaking down, though, of the relationship between the Mica Action Group and Minister Charlie McConalogue. Maybe at a time when we all, as much as we can, need to be pulling in the one direction, Michael.
Yeah,
and I say
think,
that with absolute respect. I think you know that. You know,
I completely understand it, and I think if you look back over the years of Mica Action Group, we have always been respectful to all of them, and even to Minister McConalogue or even though we would be entirely unsatisfied with his rate of support for our campaign, and I've said that, and I haven't gone public with that, but I would say we have been not supported to the extent that we need to be. And anybody that looks at social media will back that up. If anybody out there thinks that the general public thinks that Minister McConalogue has done a good job for us in the Mica campaign, I don't know what they've been reading, but we have not jumped on that or made a big point of it. But when he comes on to attack as he has done today and takes away from what was a good news story at the weekend, and his Taoiseach and his boss that has done a good job at the weekend, to now taint that again today to try to clear his name is purely the act of a man in desperation.
Okay, we're in the usual situation where you're praising the Taoiseach and critical of the local minister, but look, it is
unfortunately
it is where we're at. Do you think was it a means to an end? Do you think organising a pots and pans protest outside a hotel where we don't know who could have been staying there or what the makeup of the clientele was, and I know it was a means to an end, and there's an awful lot of Donegal families going through an absolute nightmare at the moment. Do you think that was the right call?
I absolutely think it was the right call, because I think what we have found, and we're 10 years on the road here, Greg, is that nothing comes easy for us. Absolutely nothing comes easy for us. And it's only whenever we hold our feet to the fire that we get the respect that we deserve.
And Charlie McConalogue sort of seemed to suggest that it was your group that was foot-dragging in terms of organising a family, him thinking it important that it be in a shown, the late notice in making, a property available for the visit, the delay in sort of organising a hotel. Like, the impression I got from the minister, Michael, was that it was your group that was kind of foot dragging and complicating the process. Now, I'm just trying to give everyone an equal platform to have a say, Michael. Okay, I'm not trying to stir or have a go or.
No, not at all.
That's what the minister pretty much. That's what I got from what he said.
Yeah. The reality was this. We didn't have a slot until we forced a slot. Then we were going to be given a slot at a homeowner venue only. And we said we weren't prepared to do that because that would just allow them a nice simple photo op. We wanted to talk about the business end of it, about the fact that we had 650 applications, 350 of them on hold because IS 465 needs addressed. The other 300 are moving at snail's pace, all because of bureaucracy introduced by the Housing Department. That's what we wanted to talk about, not a photo op and a cup of tea. We were okay with a photo op and a cup of tea, but only as a package. They had to sit down and talk about the real issues with us. Donegal County Council should have been doing this with the teachers. Anyway, it wasn't happening, and we called that meeting, and no one was making it happen, and we were not prepared to concede and bend and just give the government what they wanted in terms of photo op without the business part of it done. And that was why we held out and said, you're not getting the details of a homeowner until you can give us the assurity that the business end will also happen.
Well, part of a larger process, I get that. I mean, the impression I got too is this scheme stalled.
Yes, it is, Greg, and there's a lot of good work done, but there are things that are stopping it from happening and moving forward, and that's what we wanted to talk about, and that's what we would have loved to have more time with the Taoiseach than what we had. But unfortunately, 20 minutes was taken up with his say, like with Mr. McConalogue explaining and trying to clear his name in front of the Taoiseach, and that's just at the end of the day, we had to cut across and say, listen, we're not here to talk about poor Charlie. We're here to talk about the poor homeowners out there that need a voice. We now have the Taoiseach, and this is what we want to spend our time in the meeting talking about.
Right, okay. I think there's a bit of rehabilitation required between the likes of yourself and Minister Charlie McConalogue in terms of your relationship anyway.
At the end of the day, I'm out for the homeowners, Greg. That's it. I'm not out for Charlie McConalogue. I'm not out for anybody. I have nothing against him or for him. He has to man up. At the end of the day, he was born and reared 3 miles from my houses. We would love to be saying Charlie McConalogue was the best thing ever happened to Donegal. He's in the epicentre of any show, and he's in the epicentre of the Mica process. He's down there, and he's fighting tooth and nail for us. I have no evidence of that in any shape or form, and today certainly didn't help.
Okay, and all right, listen, powerful stuff. Thanks very much, Michael. All right, we're going to be speaking to the homeowner that did receive that visit after this quick break.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Is your bank leaving town? Letterkenny Credit Union is now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features with no appointment necessary to open your account.
Let's call out his name. Mike Denver in concert with guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 23rd. Tickets at the theatre box office. That's Mike Denver in concert at the Millennium Forum with Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine on Saturday, April 23rd.
Get luxury for less this Easter with Lidl's inflation-busting offers. We have delicious deluxe infused salmon sides for just $8.99. A bottle of award-winning Santa Million Grand Cru wine was $14.99, now only $11.99. And medium Smarties, Kit Kat and Cadbury Easter eggs, 3 for only €3. Lidl, more for you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Are you passionate about customer service? Then Concentrix wants to hear from you. Right now, Concentrix is recruiting work-at-home customer service advisors to join our growing global business in Donegal. If you're looking for an exciting opportunity where you can earn, learn and grow, apply today by searching Donegal at jobs.concentrix.com.
Flanagan's massive half-price store clear-out sale is now on in Buncrana. 50% off Irish-made sofas, tables, beds, wardrobes, rugs and occasional furniture. Pay today and take it away. Furnish your home for half price. Don't miss out. www.flanagans.ie.
You'll find all the best toys at Foy's Ballybuffet. Discover great value on all the latest toys, ride-ons, bikes and Bear go-karts, with new deliveries arriving every week. Great offers on best-selling brands like Lego, Fisher-Price and Barbie. With new deliveries every week, you can get all the fun shipped to your door, with free delivery on orders over €75. Shop local and find everything you need at Foy's Ballybuffet, or shop online at toysatfoys.com.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. On to it, we welcome the presenter of the DL Debate, Highland Radio's GEA podcast. That is Brendan Devaney. How are you, Brendan?
Yeah, top shoe one Highland, I think. Greg.
What is?
Somebody mentioned the DL Debate.
Is it?
Just ahead of yourself.
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. It's fantastic.
So I heard down the corridor there, but somebody may be taking a hand on me.
I think that might be someone close to you in your life. It's just trying to make you feel better.
I'm easily suckered.
Camille, what did you make of the sort of league, the league games at the weekend? Did you read much into them? Now I'm talking about the National Football League games.
Yeah, what the Kerry won it?
Yeah, Kerry.
Yeah,
well, they won it in some. They won it in with some margin, some room to spare.
It seems to be maybe one of those big games. They either won by a point, it's a close game, and they just about get across the line, or they get hammered. You know, there doesn't. It seems to fall apart.
There's no in between.
No, that's it. Listen, nobody could handle Kerry this year when they were on it. They really looked like they're building up ahead of steam, and they're already, I think, way ahead in terms of All Ireland, being favourites for All Ireland. So tough day, and psychologically, people talk about the league. That's a huge blow. You know, it's Croke Park. It's a final again. And when you're taken apart like that, you know, a lot of soul searching for Mayo going into the championship again, and nothing really matters to them until it gets the final. Now, like, listen, they'll be fine psychologically all the way through. If they get the semi-final, they'll be fine. That final thing now is weighing heavy on them.
Yeah, and it's not just a league final. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a significant competition, and you get resoundingly beaten. You can't just ignore that and just say it's only a league final, can you?
No, you can't. To say that's another wee scar that they've opened up there, Greg. So yeah, as much as we keep saying, right, you might look at that now and think, right, Mayo having a chance, they could still be in a final, but it's in that final that the problem is.
There was a double heading in Croke Park yesterday. The Galway Roscommon game, a Tiger affair. 21,000 people turned out. Would you have expected a bigger crowd?
Yeah, I think I've seen some huge crowds here, obviously, since people haven't been at games in a long time. I just think at the minute, between travel and everything that's happening, there's
price of petrol
Dublin,
and diesel.
that's what I'm saying.
You know, I mean, it is an actual factor. I drove up and down from Dublin on Saturday, and I'll tell you,
that's it.
You know, it would factor into it. What's the situation of the Leyland with we talked about the tussle after the Armagh Donegal game, some suspensions divvied out. Donegal not appealing, Armagh appealing. What's going on there? What's that about?
There's supposed to be an appeal in.
From Donegal?
No, from Armagh.
Right, okay.
Cahir O'Kane from the Irish News, of course, is on, and I'm just going to ask him. He's been talking to various people in Armagh because what they were cited for was, a part of a melee or whatever, being involved in a ruckus. And how do you disprove that? I mean, if you're in there at all, and even if you grab somebody's jersey, then that's
you're in it. Yeah.
So the problem is, if you open that up to video evidence, then the video evidence can be turned against you as well, as in somebody could be seen doing something, and that can be brought into it. So I don't know then. People were saying that Armagh put in this and they can withdraw it. I think there was an opportunity to put it in and it could still be
so to hold it there, take more time to think.
They thought maybe we were going to do it, and
right,
they didn't want to do it if we weren't. There seems to be a bit of that going on, Greg, but I'd be surprised now if they do go for it, because it seems almost impossible to prove.
Yeah, it's defend the indefensible in terms of the video footages there. So Cahir O'Kane's on with you to discuss that. In terms of local, maybe the senior stars of the future in action, hurlers and footballers.
Yeah, unfortunately Paul Burns' hurlers come up short. We have a few interviews and feedback from that game from Cian McNicholas. Tom Comack caught up with under-20s captain Kieran Tobin. They had a great victory over Armagh. Oisin McConville managed Armagh. We have some great underage talent coming through, setting up a fascinating game against Tyrone. Owen Mulligan, former stars, in charge of them. That's at Celtic Park on Friday evening. So
how are we in terms of, because we kind of have this conversation almost every year about this great talent there at the underage level, and they're going to come through, and it does happen. Are we getting it right in terms of transitioning these excellent young players into excellent senior players?
That's an idea for a show, Greg. Funny, I was just thinking a few times about the amount of coaching and underage stuff that's going on. We're not really aware of the whole system of it. Carl Lacey, of course, one of our best players ever, he's at the top of that in terms of he's organising all our underage coaching from our teams up. Massive amount of work being done. So I was looking to get him on now just to see how that's all happening. But certainly they're Donegal competing every year, competing. And when I was just chatting to, I met one of the county board officials last night. We were talking about this wee bit of a row in expenses and that, and just thinking about different teams coming. He was saying their senior team now, a session, you're looking at about 10 grand a session it costs to put that on.
Big money.
So you're into huge money, and you think about underage and all that's pulling in.
Yeah. Sometimes
I think, like, you look at that couple of million, when you break down what it costs, like in a normal year now, taking the COVID years aside, I think in that one of those last years it was about 2 million to run all the Donegal teams. Like, breaking that down week by week, that is some money that has to keep coming in.
Huge amount. And then when it's so crucial, you're going to have more well-off counties maybe having an advantage over less well-off. So you're also going to actually be going through that whole expenses convo between the GPA and the GAA. I think for those who've not really sat up and take note of that, it'll be interesting too to get right across that. That's all on Highland Radio's number one show, the DL Debate.
Yeah, you struggled to say that, that's all right.
The words just wouldn't come out of my mouth. It hurt me.
Not at all.
That's 7 p.m, just after the 7 p.m. news this evening. Podcast also, highlandradio.com. Brendan, thank you.
Cheers, Greg. Thanks.
All right, back with more on the 9 till noon show after this second best show on the radio station after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
It's not just a sewing machine. For Maya, it's a chance to give her family a better life. It's not just a way to make a living. It's a chance to give her daughter an education. Like thousands of mothers, Maya lives in fear of what the future holds for her little girl. And it's not just. This Lent, your love can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1800 408 408. Trocra, until love conquers fear.
Fancy a Chinese takeaway?
Yeah, in Beijing.
Could be. Get your ticket from Highland Radio at highlandradio.com.
And if that's not enough, enter before Friday the 8th of April to also be in with a chance to win one of our bonus cash prizes of €1,000.
Welcome to the Betway Handicap Hurdle. They're under starters' orders, and they're off. Out in the lead early on is the favourite, Gaelic Runner, who is unbeaten in her last three. Followed closely by the outsider, Oscar's Pal, who's failed to play so far this year.
Go on, Oscar's Pal!
So, who are you backing? Underdog or favourite? Visit betway.com or download the app. 18 plus T's and C's apply. Dunlewy.net. Bet the responsible way.
Are you passionate about customer service? Then Concentrix wants to hear from you. Right now, Concentrix is recruiting work-at-home customer service advisors to join our growing global business in Donegal. If you're looking for an exciting opportunity where you can earn, learn and grow, apply today by searching Donegal at jobs.concentrix.com.
If you're getting married, the in-house design team at BizPrint can get all your wedding stationery and signage customised to your requirements. Just visit weddinginvites.ie or call BizPrint at Port Road, Letterkenny on 9177 955.
Okay, welcome back to the programme. Right, I wanted a little bit of separation, I think, between, our conversation about the political to and froing of the Taoiseach's visit at the weekend to speaking to the person whose house they visited, and that was Claire McDade. Claire, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me on the show.
What's a bit surreal experience, wasn't it? Friday night, you're sitting down for a cup of tea, and then Saturday you have the Taoiseach in. What was it like as a homeowner, as an experience?
It was a strange sort of a thing, I suppose. I had said from months and months and months and months ago when I first put that video out, geez, I'd love to have on Taoiseach here for a cup of tea. I never actually thought it was going to happen. I was glad that he came. I suppose that obviously I was a bit nervous about it, but I knew I had nothing to hide. I was just going to tell the truth. There was never going to be any sort of agenda on my part.
Mm-hmm.
But the pressure is, that if you're the one person that he's coming to see, you're trying to be that voice for thousands of people who are hanging on every single word, and who are in a terrible state of stress and anxiety and uncertainty.
And that's it,
want
Claire.
To represent people,
Yeah, and the great responsibility. You and we've seen a lot of the imagery, and it's awful and it's shocking, and the damp in the house and everything that goes along with your house being affected by Mica. But I think it's important that the politicians understand the emotional and physical impact this has on the people affected by this, because obviously the problem is the houses are falling to bits. The victims are you, your family, and all the thousands of others, and the impact this has on you and your life and your health. Were you able to get that across to him?
Yeah, I think I was. And that's really what I wanted to do, was just try and get that human story across. And everybody's got their own other stuff going on, things that are happening in their lives that are terrible and stressful and, worrying. And then we have this on top of it. And it's very, very, very difficult. And I think that, I didn't hear Minister McConalogue there speaking, but I did hear the other side of the story there when I was on the line from Michael. But I think the homeowners are having to do too much work, Greg, and that's really the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
We are driving this. We are pushing this. We are begging. If I thought that I could have gone down on my concrete on my hands and knees and begged him, I would have, if I thought it would have worked, if I thought it would have helped people. But we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be begging. We shouldn't be having to find out what happens next and timber builds and having, Mag going to all these shows about new builds and what to do and trying to help people. That should all be done for us. We shouldn't be looking for somebody to come in and do the counselling and trying to get funding or trying to get a hub up and running. They should be bending over backwards and grovelling to us and trying to make it right.
But if the proper stuff is put in place, everyone accesses the same thing. It only has to be done right initially. It doesn't have to be done right for every individual house. You set up the supports that are there and people access them, and it shouldn't be complicated. Some people might say, oh, well, Claire, sure, look, it was just a photo op. You just wanted to be seen. Having had him in your front room, having fed him his tea and cake, did you get a sense that there was real empathy there?
I have to say I was worried it was going to be just a photo opportunity. The press would come and he would just do his politician bit and then leave. I didn't feel it was like that. I have to be honest now. I really didn't feel it was like that. And he started off where we were standing outside and he was giving me the politician. But, politicians sort of talk at you. They tell you what they want you to hear, and they don't listen. And he started that, we've secured this money and we're doing this and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of butted in on him and just said, I don't know what's going to happen here with my house. I don't know what the future holds. It's awful. And he looked at me directly in the eyes and he said, your house will be fixed. And I said to him, is it going to cost me tens of thousands? Because, I don't have that sort of money. And he said, no. And from then I felt that there was that human person.
Kind of reset the tone, did it?
He thought, for me anyway, I don't know what other people around me are going to, thought about it. But for me, standing there next to him, I felt he changed in that point. And he came into the house. He even looked different. He had that kind of stern sort of face. He even looked different.
Yeah, I know what you're on about. He went from sort of the head slightly tilted to one side, nodding, to more
like a person who was just standing there going, oh, God, this is awful and I want to do something. And he asked me about why was it taking so long? So I tried to explain kind of, what has happened with our case personally. And he said, I'm going to look into that myself and find out why is this taking so long. And then when he did come in, he said, I'll come in for a cup of tea, and at that point, again, he was very personable. And he was more relaxed then, more like just a normal person. And he came in, he sat down, and he was saying, we've only had like this 5 or whatever houses fixed. We need to get 60 fixed, 100 fixed. We need this process to happen quickly. I want action. I want this done so that people will see that it will happen and that it is happening, and that, I suppose that will take the stress away. And I think that will, if they deliver, then, I'll be the first one to say, fair play to Charlie McConalogue, hasn't he done a great job?
Yeah. I think, though, you need to start...
You want that.
Yeah, but you need sight of a finish line.
We need
even if it's 28 kilometres away, you need to realise that you're on a path and easy to cope. And that's it, action, Claire, because I was going to say, the words, the sentiment, the feeling, that's all well and good, and it's good to get it and it's positive, but it is going to come down to action, to people like yourself getting a new house, your house falling around you. You trusted the system and the system failed you. It's about you without having to dig deep into the money that you don't have. You said yourself you wouldn't have tens of thousands. I'm not saying that. And that's when we will know whether this is happening or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, when we start seeing success stories of people who are in and happy and finally free of this awful weight on our shoulders, the more that happens, the more that people will say, we might have to wait a while, but it'll be done and it'll be okay, and so we'll not worry about it anymore. And that's what we need. No words, no talking, no fake smiles or handshakes. We just need action. But I do think that there was positivity, and I do feel more hopeful. Greg, I'm not singing and dancing and euphoric and thinking, oh, this was amazing, open the champagne. But I do feel that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
And I hope and pray that they deliver on what they've said, because, they have to. They have to, because otherwise, no one's going to... We don't trust them anyway. They need to build trust.
Of course. And, Claire, this is why conversations like this are important, because this is an archive, too, of the reaction to the meeting, what was committed to, and we can look back on this and see if your faith is not faith, but your confidence or your improved confidence is justified or not, and it's going to be in action. Claire, listen, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and fair play to you for being the voice of a lot of people, because it's not easy to invite people.
Anyway,
okay, but you know what I mean. You had a great responsibility because you've presumably, and you kind of said this, you had to feel that you had to do all the other victims of this scandal justice as well, and by the sounds of it, you did so, Claire. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Best wishes to you and the family. Thank you very much indeed.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Let's call out his name. Mike Denver in concert with guests Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Millennium Forum Derry on Saturday, April 23rd. Tickets at the theatre box office. That's Mike Denver in concert at the Millennium Forum with Philomena Begley, Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine on Saturday, April 23rd.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny now has even longer opening hours. Try Kelly's Early Bird Breakfast, one of their great lunch specials, or a renowned Jake's Burger. Kelly's famous steak specials are available every Saturday from 3, with an 8-ounce succulent steak and all the trimmings for just €11. New extended opening hours now in Kelly's award-winning diner at Mountaintop Letterkenny. Check out Facebook for details.
Are you ready?
Yes, Chris.
Question for £1 million is, what do Crawford tiles do? Is it A, tiles, B, wooden flooring, C, bathroom suites, D, 5-day bathroom refits?
All four.
You've just won £1 million! Well, not really. After taxes, you lose a bunch of money, but hey, whatever. Crawford Tiles, Castlefin, 07491 43942. Check this.
Join me this Monday on the DL Debate as we review all the weekend's GA action. In Championship, our under-20 hurlers play Mayo, and the under-20 footballers take on our friends from Armagh. We'll have feedback and analysis from both games, and as our county leagues return, we'll speak with Niamh Conlon and Joseph McKelvey. Also joining me, Irish news journalist Ceathair O'Kane to discuss the ongoing standoff between the GA and the GPA and the current fallout of the suspensions after the Donegal-Armagh League game. All this and more just after 7pm news on Highland Radio and podcasted on highlandradio.com.
The DL Debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9pm daily in Sarah's Kitchen.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go...
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus £5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at hydrant.radio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
Chartered physiotherapists have always had your back, but did you know we restore confidence and repair strength? Our women's health physios offer support through all life stages, from period pain, pregnancy and birth to postpartum, menopause and beyond. Treating bladder dysfunction, prolapse and pelvic pain, our physios will help you bring your body back to brilliant. To find out more, go to askthephysio.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday with the family? You can now fly to Barcelona 3 times weekly this summer with Ryanair and enjoy some of Europe's best family campsites. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Okay, a dull and breezy day with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees in moderate to fresh westerly winds. You're very welcome back to the programme. Right, now... it's a big event in Derry every Easter with singing, dancing and musical theatre, trad music and Irish language competitions. It is the Derry Feis, 100 years. It runs from the 19th to the 19th of April to the 22nd of April. And it's a celebration of singing, dancing, musical theatre, traditional music and Irish language competitions. Right, Ursula Clifford joins us first to talk about the history of this event and what a rich history, Ursula. Hello, Ursula, can you hear me? No, okay. Is Elizabeth, Elizabeth, are you there?
Yes, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth. Good to have you with us. Phone line's playing up on us a little bit. Right, you're have your own history, your family history. Irish dancing, a huge part of your and your family's life.
Yes, my mother was an Irish dancer, first of all, and danced through the 40s. And then I wasn't much of a dancer, but I did a full bit and spent a lot of time at the Feis with my granny and did a bit of dancing, said a few Irish poems, played the piano, and then my own daughters also danced, did verse speaking, sang, choirs, orchestra, all the rest. So we've been through it for a long time, and my mother particularly has a very great affection for the Feis. So now I work as sort of to coordinate the dancing competitions and help the committee in that way.
It must be great to be a part of it in terms of competition, but also in organisation to help and facilitate other people's experiences.
Well, yes, and the dancing in particular is very special at Derry Feis because, as you know, there are different organisations running dancing And I'm not going to say we're unique. I think it may happen a few other places, but we do. The two main organisations come together at Derry Feis, that's and Commission and Kogel, both compete together at the Feis, and we have adjudicators from both sides.
And why is it unique? Why is this the only platform that both organisations come together? It's quite interesting.
I'm not too sure. There's a long history anyway, but there aren't, and they run their own Feishes, but or Feishana, but there were special permissions made and great effort made by Bishop Daly and the committee back to bring the two sides together. Brilliant. And so we do have them together. And it's a very busy time for them because both of them have their World Championships the week before, so they then come back to Derry Feis. But that's so we're glad to have them. We would love to have more numbers. The numbers are a bit low at the moment, but we hope we'll have more people. And it's just the way things have been, and with COVID and that, people don't know how it's going to go. But we're glad to be back after 2 years of absence.
Mm-hmm. And are you putting an appeal out there for people to get involved this year? Is it too late, Elizabeth?
Well, that would be nice. And yes, Joe, you can still enter, and also it would be lovely if anybody would like to help stage or whatever. I would love more people. It's very hard. People are very busy, and a lot of people are going away this year because they're getting the opportunity, but I would love to be able to see people.
Maybe this is the year to just get it going and then really push on to the... listen, Elizabeth, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you so very much indeed. I'm going to try Ursula Clifford one more time. Ursula, are you there? Right, no, well, you can put Ursula through online too. Okay. Eamon Sweeney is committee member of the Derry Feis. It's 100 years. You haven't been that involved for that long, Eamon. I can be quite confident of that. But it's a huge event for Derry, isn't it? Every single Easter, and this one's going to be no different.
Well, it'll be different in the sense that it's the celebration of 100 years of the Feis itself, obviously, but no different in the sense that it's going to be the same sort of wonderful celebration of the talent of the Northwest and its hinterlands, and that has included the Inishowen and Donegal area since the very start in 1922.
Yeah, and of course there's been a gap. It hasn't been held in, is it 3 years? I always find it confusing at a time like this COVID stuff. It's 3 years since there was the last event, isn't it? 3 years.
This will be two if you include the 2 COVID years, which were hard on everybody, obviously. But the first one since 2019, and thankfully it includes the centenary year, and we're able to go ahead.
So, from an audience perspective, what can we see and enjoy, Eamon?
Well, you outlined all the disciplines that are, held every single year and have been since 100 years ago at the Feis. That, as Elizabeth says, includes Irish dancing, it includes singing, it includes verse speaking, it includes reams of instrumental competitions. It's the only platform that I know of anywhere in the world where you'll have, a traditional fiddler playing a jig, and then next door somebody playing Beethoven on a piano. So it has a unique sort of style and sense in that respect. So we can expect all the disciplines to be well represented as usual, from both Derry itself and the surrounding hinterlands, as we said.
Yeah, and as I said too, runs from Tuesday the 19th till Friday the 22nd. So if I want to sort of plan out what I want to view, where do I find out where things are happening, what times they're happening, and maybe plan, a few hours or a day or successive days for that matter?
Well, the syllabus or the programme timetable for the entire week will be published very soon. But if you want the flavour of what is in store and the type of competition you can plan to go and see at the venues in Derry, which are the Millennium Forum and the Playhouse, then you can go to www.derryfeis.com, where the entire syllabus is there to be viewed online and downloaded, so you can mark off exactly what you want to go and see.
Yeah, sounds wonderful. And then to finish things off, there's a big event, isn't there?
On Sunday, April 24th, starting at around 3 o'clock, there's a Derry Feis Gala Centenary concert, which is being held in the Millennium Forum as well. So after the week's competition, you have a chance to sit back and, view artists who all came through the Feis, such as, Margaret Keys, Brona Gallagher O'Callaghan, one of your own broadcasters, who is a country dancer but began his career at Derry Feis as an Irish dancer. That will be David James, will be performing. And there will also be, reams of sort of retrospective video content, and that will also include tributes from past competitors, such as Dana and Roma Downey. We also have a special tribute from Johnny Logan, whose father actually hailed from Derry. His own name was Charlie Sherrod, but he adopted the stage name Pat O'Hagan, as many of your listeners will know. So Johnny has given us an interview about how his father's connection not only with the city, but the Feis and various Oceania across the northwest.
All right, Eamon, let us know when is that ticketed? Is there still spots available for that the gala concert?
Well, they're going fast as far as I know, but if you go online or phone the box office at the Millennium Forum, they'll be happy to help you out.
Brilliant stuff, Eamon. Well done, and let us know when the actual list of events is organised, and we can share that out as well when that's being announced. I mentioned Ursula Clifford. Ursula, sorry, some slight technical issues, but it's good to have you on us. And even just in passing there, Eamon, well, it wasn't quite in passing, was talking there to the history of this and its connections, and it's a rich history over the course of the last 100 years, isn't it, which will be celebrated, of course, throughout the week.
Yes. The fact is that it was founded in 1922 after a partition, because there was a great danger that we were now part of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and that we had to protect Irish culture. And an old lady who was called Mrs. Edward Henry O'Doherty, quite famous in Derry, and Father McGettigan decided to set up the Feis so that we would perpetrate all the Irish culture that came from Derry, Donegal, mostly the hinterlands, and far away too as well.
Has it always had this sort of level of importance or interest, or was there a period over that 100 years, Ursula, that it was at its biggest, if that makes sense?
Well, I would say up until the Guildhall got bombed, and then we had to sort of move up to smaller halls in the Cregan, and for the couple of years the Guildhall came back. The Guildhall was the home of the Feis and St. Column's Hall. Unfortunately, we had to change all that now because the Guildhall has only one main hall within it. They changed the minor hall into council chambers, so we need 2 halls at night at least. And during the day we use about 7 venues between the Playhouse and the Millennium Forum. Then St. Colum's Hall has not been in use for quite some time either, and that's not suitable at the minute to use. So we're using the Millennium Forum, and we have 2-3 places working in there, and then up in the Playhouse we have 3 places working. So during the day it's very, very busy, but at night we keep it that we only use 2 halls within the Millennium Forum, so that more people can come to the evening and sort of get themselves about that concert, because they can go into the big hall and see drama and singing, and they can go into the smaller hall and see pianos and violins and cellos and things like that. And then on the Wednesday, all day on the Wednesday is a traditional. They take over the smaller hall on the Wednesday, and they're there morning, afternoon and night. And then outside of that, on Holy Week, there are some school choirs that we hold them on the Tuesday of Holy Week before the school breaks up. Unfortunately, this year, because of COVID, like I would say the last Feis we had, there was about 12 primary school choirs, and this year we have only 3 because they're not back practicing, and that's the problem.
Well, look, hopefully they'll make up for the rest that can't be there. Listen, there's so much in it, Ursula, and it's going to be a fantastic week, and we really appreciate your time this morning, Ursula Clifford there. Okay, and that's the Derry Feis. We're back tomorrow morning at 9. Have a great day.
The 9 till noon show with